Yeah, mate.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I hope you lost it.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Mate, do you know, it's half hot in here. And I can't... So you don't realise what it's like. I've had Arteta on. I'm going to have to take this off, mate. Well, I can't.
No? You what?
Wow, it's hot. I've got to take my top off, mate. I can't keep doing this, mate. I can't keep doing this.
What is going on?
What? What do you mean? What do you mean?
What is this?
What's what?
Is this talkSPORT merch?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh my God, he's got a shirt. You've now got a shirt on. You're killing me. What is this shirt? What is this?
I don't know what you're on about, mate. I just knocked this whole thing up.
So for people who are not watching on YouTube right now, Cundy has got a T-shirt with the Ange mask. I've seen signs, encouraging signs. Is this...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Minute past 10, it's time for the headlines with Nick. Andy and I are off to Wetherspoons in York with Josh. Catch you later.
Ali, thanks very much. Good morning. Former Chelsea midfielder Andy Townsend thought Robert Sanchez has pulled off one of the saves of the season there.
Let's be honest, big Robert Sanchez had some stick.
Oh, you better believe it.
And he's brought a lot of it on himself.
Yeah.
It's got to be said. Fair play to him at the weekend. Great save with, as you mentioned, Aronson. And that hit from Stack, that was flying, wasn't it?
Enzo's brilliant header was enough to beat Leeds as Chelsea's player power gets them through. They'll play Man City in the final live on talkSPORT 2 weeks on Saturday. Harry Redknapp's concerned about where Spurs will find the goals to save them from relegation now. Xavi Simons is heartbroken to miss the run-in and the World Cup with an ACL injury. And Spurs are sweating on Solanke news.
I mean, Solanke looked like he got, whether it's a hamstring or what, I'm not sure, but, you know, they'll miss him as well, Tottenham, for sure. That'll be a blow to her.
Now, how are those York City players getting on? The National League winners were partying at their stadium on Saturday when they got a cheeky invite from a local nightclub.
So we ditched family and friends and we all went. I think about 7 of us got back to mine in the morning and then went straight to Wetherspoons for opening. And then enjoyed it yesterday in the sun.
York City goalscorer Josh Stones there says the lads are looking to get back on it today after that latest of title wins over Rochdale on Saturday. And 4 games to go in this scintillating Scottish Premiership title race. Hearts boss Derek McInnes has believed since September.
We've had a lot of late winners, a lot of dramatic games, but all that I think helps just feed the strength of the lads, you know, and we never ever feel we're out it. Never. Even when we've lost games.
Another late win, this time over Hibs. Hearts are 3 points clear with 4 to play. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Donald Trump says the King and Queen will be very safe during their state visit to the US. And Sir Keir Starmer's promising a crackdown on what he calls a shoplifting free-for-all. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Sort your new tyres this spring at a time that suits you best from the comfort of your home or work 7 days a week with our mobile tyre fitting service. Conditions apply.
Dry day for most of us. Northern Scotland getting some rain though. In the south, warm and bright before clouding over. Heavy showers moving into the east this afternoon with a risk of thunder.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So after overcoming Leeds at Wembley, how far would an FA Cup trophy go in salvaging Chelsea's season? Meanwhile, Spurs win their first game of 2026. But what's the bigger gut punch? Callum Wilson's last-minute hammers winner, or the season-ending injury for Xavi Simons? Also today, can Arsenal unshackle themselves? Football focus or football wocus? Have you got to be cruel to be kind once promotion arrives? Do the SPFL side with Celtic or Rangers in the latest row? And in a game full of cheats, is it ironic that football is crowing for sportsmanship? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Looking crisp, looking smart, as always, Mr. Jordan.
Nice to see everyone.
Very good to see you. Martin Keown, Arsenal Invincible, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you, mate. Just before I forget, and I said I'd mention him right at the top, I'm walking into the news building this morning here at London Bridge, right beside the Shard, and Tony from Southend came up to me, and he said for whatever reason he's only become a regular listener to talkSPORT recently, and is now in a state of never missing this show every morning between 10 and 1, so I'm delighted to hear that. Well done, Tony. You're our latest convert, and we're thrilled at that, aren't we?
I went to a French restaurant yesterday and they were going berserk because Petit comes on the show.
Okay.
So they would, can you bring him down? And I said, well, if you see his dress sense, you won't ask him to come again. That's for sure.
I love it. Yes, last week was extraordinary. I do recall that, Simon. I don't know, Martin, when he was at Arsenal and you were at Arsenal, was he always a bit of a fashion icon? Monsieur Petit?
Fashionista.
No, I think he was always a good guy to turn to in the dressing room. I think he was... I think his opinions now are fantastic.
Yeah, never mind that. What was his clubber like?
No, I don't know, a little bit...
eccentric.
A little bit, yeah. The ponytail obviously sets you apart a little bit, but is what he did on the pitch. I don't care what they look like, what they sound like, how they behave on a Saturday.
Yeah.
If I can get a performance, and his performances were incredible. He was in a competition every week with Patrick Vieira to be man of the match. That says it all.
Yeah.
Speaks like he played, doesn't he? Yeah. Doesn't hold back, doesn't leave anything to...
He's emotional.
Deliberation.
Sometimes he can get overly emotional.
I've got to say,
that's
Simon,
good too.
It'd be a show-stopping moment for any restaurant if you walk in with Petit.
A French restaurant, they were going berserk.
Yeah,
because the thing about Petit I didn't really appreciate is when you listen to the stories about the World Cup, and I'm a little bit cynical about these sort of things, and you hear the stories about what it means and how he fell asleep on the beach, woke up to have a queue of people 500 yards around the corner. He's woke up, sort of sunburnt and fed up. There's a queue of people going around the corner because they want to see him. And these sort of things are... winning a World Cup is an iconic moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Scoring in the
Unbelievable.
final.
Yeah. Scoring in the final.
Incredible.
In your own country.
Yeah.
I can remember holidays when I woke up on the beach and had to be carted off it.
After a week of being on the beach, you turned blue, was it?
Yes, exactly. But I'm delighted these days no longer happen. Chelsea beat Leeds United to set up an FA Cup final with Manchester City. Enzo Fernandez, what do you know, popped up with a winner. The same man banned from the last round by his clubs for comments that he made during the international break before staring down Chelsea fans at Brighton earlier in the week. But anyway, Chelsea have beaten Leeds, Port Vale, Wrexham, Hull and Charlton in the competition on the way to the final. What about Leeds United, Simon? Martin, I didn't know this stat. It now makes it 4 defeats on the trot at Wembley without scoring for Leeds, comprising a Championship playoff final, a League One playoff final, the 96 League Cup final and yesterday's FA Cup final. They get there, they can't even score.
Yeah, and for those of us growing up in the 70s, they were a fantastic team with their physical side.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Don Revie back in the day, and it just fell apart for them, Jim. But I think there's a club that's on the way back. There's no major loss for them going out of the semi-final of the FA Cup. It looks like they now it's still tight at the bottom, but I fancy them to stay up. So they've had an incredible season.
Yeah. If they'd have turned up a little bit more in the first half, in the second half they were far better. And if you look at the first 20 minutes of the second half, they put Chelsea back on the heels. And potentially, you would like to think they had a good, the goalkeeper made a great save. I think Calvert-Lewin could have done slightly better with the header. Try to steer it out of the inside back in, didn't he? But listen, Leeds will look at this as a season, if they stay in the Premier League, of successes.
Yeah.
It's the backdrop of the original forecast that the manager was going to get the boot, that they were going to struggle. If they stay up and get to an FA Cup semi-final, it will be a season of successes.
Yeah, I think so. But on Chelsea, and this is for both of you, and I'm going to put it out there this morning to the fans, how far could an FA Cup trophy go to salvaging the Chelsea season that we've seen?
Well, it depends whose eyes you're asking this of. I mean, the ideal scenario for Chelsea is for Man City still to be trying to win the Premier League. Guess what? They're going to be still trying to win the Premier League in the middle of an FA Cup final. So Man City might find themselves in a situation where they might be a bit distracted because they've got games to play after the FA Cup.
Yeah.
On paper, despite the fact they were marginally better, and this is what Rosenior was sacked for, wasn't it? This is what they wanted. They wanted an outcome on the weekend, and they got their outcome. However you think about that and whatever you think of the way it was achieved, but on paper, you can't see this Chelsea side really troubling Man City, can you? In any individual game, unless Man City's minds are distracted.
Well, no, I mean,
to go to the question, economically, it'll put them back in Europe. It'll answer questions that the owners will be able to turn around and say that we still win things, but the fans will not have it. The fans won't say it's a success unless Chelsea, pick up some real achievements at the end of the season in the league.
Yeah,
they're still
who's in
be...
charge there, though, Simon? So if you're the owner of this football club and you're watching those players today or coming off the pitch last night, it seems like the players are in control at Chelsea, not the manager. And it's like they decided a semi-final, they've turned up and they've offered a performance.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
Whereas the game before, I'm sorry, it was awful to watch, and they didn't apply themselves. So I assume they will turn up for the final.
Oh, they'll turn up for the final categorically, but they might be a slightly more irresistible force, but they'll meet an immovable object in Manchester City. And my point is, if they turned up against XYZ side that wasn't Manchester City, all day, perhaps Chelsea can win a FA Cup. Maybe they still can because Man City might be distracted. But the balance of probability is that Man City will not replicate their performance against Crystal Palace last year. They'll turn up in this FA Cup final. And if they're anything vaguely resembling what they've been in the last few weeks,
they're fourth on the bounce.
It'll see a Chelsea.
Yeah. To go to your point, though, Martin, I mean, downing tools at Brighton, and that's what they did before getting themselves up for Wembley to face Leeds. Is this a fraudulent Chelsea dressing room? They perform for McFarlane, but they didn't perform for Rosenior, it would seem. But McFarlane kind of shut that down post-match.
I wouldn't question their character. I think their character's being questioned because of the results. And we're playing against top teams. You have bad moments. You get into a rut. The momentum is so important. We've seen it with some of the best teams in the world. You can go on losing streaks, and people are too reactive to the result. That group's got massive character. You don't beat PSG in the Club World Cup. You don't beat Barcelona, and there's loads of other games. You don't come out of that spell and show that performance. The character shouldn't be questioned, but I understand why. But that group's got a lot of character, a lot of mentality, a lot of winners in that changing room, and I was really happy we could show that today.
So, Simon, he says you can't question the player's character, but let's question the player's character. Is it a fraudulent Chelsea dressing room or merely the modern day one?
But he's 12 years of age and isn't going to say anything different, is he? I mean, let's be honest about it. You can question the character of the players, but what's the point of him doing that? If he opened his mouth and questioned the character of those players, first of all, he's going to be on the receiving end of the same thing that Rosenior was on the receiving end, and secondly, he's going to get smacked around by every pundit saying, who the hell are you to say such things? So he can't say anything, right? We can question the character of those players because their performance, irrespective of whether they couldn't understand a word that Rosenior was saying, was up for question. Because even Martin, who will defend the players, and rightly so because he was one, will sit and look at that performance against Brighton and say, it's not acceptable. Even if you don't understand what the manager's asked you to do, even if you don't like what the manager's asked you to do, you can run around and make yourself look busy and put your foot in and make it difficult for the opposition. They did none of that in the first half against Brighton. And so that is a question of their character.
Yeah, but when you look at it, so the plan, the blueprint for Chelsea, the owners want young players on extensive contracts, which puts them into the comfort zone, which then makes them immature at times in their behaviour on the pitch. I don't think they should be surprised by that. They need to change their recruitment policy. They need more senior players so they can actually manage it a little bit better,
haven't they? But also, if you understand their contracts don't allow them to get into a comfort zone because their basic wage is not what you think it is. Their basic wage is miles away from being where other clubs have got people's basic wages. It's driven by incentives, by Champions League and by league positions. So they have to be successful. And by the amount of times they perform in the side and the amount of times they play. So they've really got that balance to drive the players into a situation where they can be as immature as they want. If the team doesn't succeed, they don't get paid the big fat salaries.
Well, the results suggest they've not got that balance right. So whatever they're doing in terms of their remuneration for the player, it's not. I'm not seeing.
But it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? When you actually think about it, when you sit back from it and you work it out in the cold light of day, young players, young manager, how do you expect to get the mix right? You've got a young manager that doesn't really understand all the aspects of running a big football club and was going to be a work in progress. Then you've got young players that are developing that are going to be a work in progress. How can that be a completed picture?
But if you're saying, and I'm totally with you, Simon, if you're saying that, why didn't Bully and Igbali see that?
Well, my understanding, and I alluded to this the other day, and Marcy might have heard this or may not have heard this, is the reasons why Rosenior was brought into the picture was because he was promised the Chelsea job whilst he was at Strasbourg, and there was an expectation it would come a bit further down the line. Maresca does his little tantrum, and they've got a situation with Rosenior where they promised him the job. He's now being courted by other Premier League football clubs, potentially that want his services there and then. So Chelsea go, well, we thought he was ready. We'll take a chance on the fact he's ready, so we'll go with him being ready.
Crazy way to operate.
Well, it would appear so.
Yeah.
It would appear so because the outcomes have defined that. And then you've got a situation where I don't think these players, my perception is that the players didn't dislike William Rosenior. They didn't understand what he was saying and where he was going.
It's the same players, different managers, and we've got similar results, haven't we? In terms, I know it got worse with the next manager, but the discipline. 7 red cards has really cost them.
But that's senior players, isn't it?
Yeah.
So where are the seniority players?
Where are they?
They're the ones throwing tantrums. The senior players are throwing tantrums.
This perceived improved performance, is it more damning on the players or Liam Rosenior?
I think it doesn't reflect well on any of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
Do you know, because it's like they're picking and choosing when they play.
Yeah.
Look, they're good players, Jim. There's no doubt about that. They took Fernandes was suspended for a couple of matches, which did
the smaller consequences on the players. The manager's reputation will now. He has effectively, in effect, been dragged into the spotlight by Chelsea and shot in it.
Yeah.
And people will look at him going, the ownership will be constantly condemned until it does something better than it's currently doing. The people that will skate away from this will be the players. Because if they turn up in the next game, it'll all be forgotten. The legacy of these outcomes will not be forgotten on the ownership, will not be forgotten on the manager.
Yeah,
the players will get away with it.
I think with McFarlane, Jim, you just keep it real. This huddle business, forget all that huddle. There's no real feeling among us. Then just get on and play.
Yeah.
You know, this sort of artificially celebrating someone signing. Just do it in house. Everything. I don't understand why everything was so public. Maybe Liam will learn a lot from that experience. Short period in Manchester.
Okay, it's all Chelsea at the moment, but why not? You've got yourselves to an FA Cup final. How far could an FA Cup trophy go to salvaging the Chelsea season that has been so far? Give us a call on that. That, amongst other things, I'm going to put it out there. Where is the biggest change required at Chelsea this summer? The pitch, the dugout, or the boardroom? The biggest change, what do you think? 03717 22 3344. Chelsea fans, let's hear from you.
I've been saying this all season. They don't want to get rid of Arne Slot. Other media outlets are now reporting that he's going to stay come what may, particularly as they look like they're going to get
what you've been saying
all
along, Cookie.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, when you've got this much upheaval, do you really want to add a change of manager into the mix as well? Particularly when you've got a manager who did win the Premier League last year. Well, he's not useless, is he, Arne Slot?
I think he deserves another go at it. But when he comes out and says we need to sell players, I don't think that's right, is it?
That's always been the Liverpool way. These are not owners who...
FSG
don't spend loads of money. They don't just lavish loads of cash.
Who in that squad, though, is going to bring in a lot of money? Who's going to bring in a lot of money in that
Jones
squad
will
of
bring you
players?
20 million quid.
Okay, who else?
Alexis McAllister, potentially. Not had a great season. Bit of interest from Real Madrid, I'm hearing.
Alisson, did they cash in on Alisson?
Well, he spoke about him today, actually, and he said that he doesn't respond to rumours.
I think he'll stay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well,
Mamadashvili's not proved himself to be ready yet.
No, not quite yet. Let's just say that. 03717 22 By the way, Arne Slot staying. He had said it.
He said all along.
Yep,
months. Yep.
Well done. See, that's proper.
On the podcast. What's the podcast?
Podcast Premier League All Access. If you just have a look towards your left-hand side, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, look at that for a plug.
You can see the QR code. Just give it a little scan, and you'll be able to listen to that when we finish here today.
Is that the first plug we've ever had?
weekend, wasn't it? Not just in England, but up in Scotland as well. Hearts winning right at the end against Edinburgh rivals Hibs. 9-man Hibs, goodness me. Rangers were in it. Are they still in it? Celtic are in it under Martin O'Neill. We'll get to that. Spurs won their first game of 2026. We'll get to that. Who's going to go down? Is it going to be Tottenham Hotspur or is it going to be West Ham? Who is it? We're going to get to that very shortly. I keep on saying we're going to get to that, but we will get to that. We're stuck on this. Chelsea have got themselves to an FA Cup final. They beat Leeds and they set up an FA Cup final appointment with Manchester City. But here's the thing. How far could an FA Cup win go to salvaging the Chelsea season that we have seen? Actually, Simon, there are two really good quotes I want to bring to you this morning. Jimmy Carragher in The Telegraph, Martin. Those in charge at Stamford Bridge wanted to go about their business in a different way from Abramovich. They've certainly managed that, spending over $1.5 billion to make Chelsea less successful, less feared, less respected, less profitable. A trophy-winning machine has been transformed into an expensive, failed football experiment. He's not wrong with most of that.
I want to reconsider the less respected bit because we've now established that Abramovich's regime cheated, right? So we forgot to put that little bit in because that wouldn't have suited Jamie's article.
Right.
Little side part which actually changes the whole dimensions around Chelsea because if they got caught during that period, Dollars for Donuts can believe they perhaps did it previously as well. So the fact of the matter is they are right that they've turned in from a soulless manufactured club that sacked managers good left, right and centre, irrespective of whether they won or not, to perhaps a soulless club that doesn't win anything. And the only difference is that maybe this time round they're trying to do it on the up and up. Last time round they did it a different way. But he's right. They've lost this. They've tried to fly in a different way, and it's not working. They've tried to bring in younger managers. They tried to come in with Graham Potter as a younger manager. They've tried to go a different direction, and they haven't got it right. Now, I know that there was observations in Martin Samuel's comment as well.
I mean, this is brilliant. I've got to say, and he always is, Simon. This is a club that must drastically alter course. There's a culture of dictating to the manager, of dismissing his instincts as inferior, of considering dispensable. Yet, whoever walks through the door has to be an agent of change.
But that's right. But that's an interesting observation because I would suggest, unless Martin is in the room and understands the conversations between manager and owner, it's a supposition. It's a supposition based upon the fact that managers have been dismissed, right? And then we look at those managers and ask yourself why. Why was Thomas Tuchel dismissed? Because if he wants to bring that into the equation, do your homework, Martin. You'll evaluate the reasons why. Why was Graham Potter dismissed? Because the entire world was screaming at him to be dismissed, and he wasn't up to the job. And he may well be managing Sweden now, reluctant to get into the World Cup. Let's have it right. The one outlier potentially is Mauricio Pochettino, who in my mind is a serial bridesmaid. So is he going to... Well, yeah, what did he win? Ligue 1. With this one side that wins, with a one-team league that once every blue moon maybe gets another side to win it. So with respect, I take the overall picture that the owners have got to do better and they've got to allow managers to express themselves. But with the same outlook, let's look at the nuance and context to why these managers have been removed. Why Maresca resigned. He may have a point that the ownership model needs to step off a little bit and leave the managers to manage. But none of us really know that they're saying to the manager, pick this player. The argument behind Maresca was about medical information. On one hand, they want the best medical resources. When the medical team intervenes and it doesn't suit the manager, and then the board goes, well, hang on, that's what we've got the medical team for, all of a sudden it becomes over interference from ownership. So you've got to get all the facts into the picture before you start making these decisions.
Who do they go for next then? Is it Areola from Bournemouth? When you see the way that he's worked there with young players, that maybe ticks one box.
Different expectation,
are the players even as good? Some of these players at the moment, the way that Bournemouth are performing, Jim, he's worked miracles at Bournemouth, deserves an opportunity. And I really like the way that it's a clear message of pressing, the way that they are and the way they play their football. They could do a lot worse than bring him to Chelsea.
I mean, I'll put it to you, Martin, before we go to calls. Many calls are coming in. 03717 223344. Where is the biggest change required at Chelsea in the summer? Is it on the pitch? Is it in the dugout? Or is it in the boardroom? You're pointing upwards.
It's in the boardroom. Because the boardroom makes the appointments. And so if it brings in the right managers and the right players, the boardroom doesn't have to be so prevalent. It can focus on commercial aspects.
So what needs to change in the boardroom?
Well, they'll tell you themselves. They will say that they bought the wrong players. Martin made the point. They've talked about it himself. Egbali said the other day, we've got the balance wrong. and they need to adjust that and bring in some more experienced players that are ready to go now, that are fully fit. I don't mean fit in terms of physicality, I mean fit in terms of fit for purpose as an experienced player that can help the younger players develop. They probably need to look at their management decisions, whether they go for a proven winner. I mean, Alonso is available. Liverpool are not going to take him because they've stayed with Slots. Alonso's someone you could look at. I like Areola. I like Oliver Glasner. But again, they fall into the same trap of having managed a smaller club with lesser expectations, and now you're walking into a pressure cooker that has to hit the ground instantaneously.
I think recruitment's important as well. I'm not sure about their defensive central defenders. You know, there's been so many different combinations. It looks a bit weak in that area. Centre forward as well would have been nice. Let Jackson go, didn't they, in the summer, went to Bayern. Delap's not really done it this season. So, you know, they've been without, I mean, Pedro's been fantastic, by the way. What a player he is. And maybe that kind of like, he comes deep, he links up quite well, but he's not really a predator in the box, and maybe that's someone they're missing.
Let's go early to the calls. There are so many of them coming in. How far could an FA Cup trophy go to salvaging the Chelsea season that has been? Chelsea fan Jack is first up. Jack, good morning. What do you want to say to us?
Good morning, gentlemen. Honoured to speak to you all.
Morning, mate.
Clear as day, just from the boardroom. You know, if you haven't got it right upstairs, how the hell can you get anything else right? You know, ultimately, the next 4 to 6 weeks for Chelsea is pivotal to see where we are heading. You know, the statement that was made after the sacking of Rosenior was a strange one, but at least they're maybe accepting responsibility on it. But the next move is everything. You know, are they changing direction? Clearly, it wasn't working. Ultimately, like it or not, Mr. Abramovich is gone. He's not coming back. These guys are here to stay, and they've put their money where their mouth is, and the rest of it. So we've got to suck it up and get with it. But this next appointment is pivotal. For me personally, it is a gamble. Someone like Cesc Fabregas for me. You know, these top managers that we want are not going to come to Chelsea. Why the hell would they touch us with a barge pole? But someone like Fabregas has been there, seen it, done it, also has Chelsea in him, but ultimately actually walks into the dressing room or walks onto the training pitch and is in charge.
That's a good call. Jack, specifically, what direction of change do you want to see the ownership bringing about?
Just make an attempt to get back to where we once were. You know, we were so blessed with who we had in charge, bankrolling everything. Give it to me. Just go back to the basics. It's not rocket science, gentlemen. You know this already. Go and get experienced players. We're only talking about a few signings that will make huge differences leadership-wise. We have no leaders. You know, Reece James is world-class as a right-back, and he's 25, and he's Chelsea through and through. He's not a leader of men. Asking him to be that is, you know, it's not who he is. By default, someone like Trevor Chalobah is not a leader of men. We put someone like Fernandes in there because of the price tag and what he has to be for the club financially.
I get where you're going. I get where you're going, Jack. Thank you for that. Nick's a big Chelsea fan. Leaders. You need leaders on the pitch. Is he right, Nick? Good morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me on the show. Well, first of all, the first question you asked was about the FA Cup. Will it salvage our season? I think, yeah, it'd be great. I mean, absolutely brilliant. And yesterday was absolutely back on a high after a few weeks of non-performance. I would say the change in mindset, the hierarchy, and Simon touched on it before, that's what we needed. We needed to hear that. Maybe a long time ago. It's taken them 3 years to wake up. I mean, getting rid of all the people they did, people like Thiago Silva and all the experienced players in our squad was a mistake. Perhaps they've actually finally got to that point to say, right, let's have a look at this season. Let's bring in, Simon also made the point about we need someone to come in, and there's lots of good young managers, and I wouldn't want to ruin Areola's career by him coming to Chelsea, although he looks a brilliant prospect. Right. But someone who comes in who can handle a situation, a power keg of a club. We're a basket case at the moment. But I feel so much more positive after Bali's come out, the major shareholder, to say, yeah, we need to rethink this and we need to have more experience. And that's where it comes from, the culture of the club, the leadership at the top. You know, it doesn't come from the players. And, yeah, all the players should look at themselves, especially after that break. You know, we pay a lot of money to watch Chelsea play, and it's harder and harder to get tickets. Yeah. And when you get all us fans turning up at Brighton to put in a performance like that, you players should look at yourself. Forget Liam Rosenior, and bless him, he did the best he could, but I don't think it was ever going to work at Chelsea. But those same players turned up yesterday, especially in the first half.
Well done, Nick. Nick, that's a great call. Nick, that's a great call. You've taken us to 10:30. We'll take more of your calls the other side of the break. But Chelsea, is an FA Cup win at Wembley going to go some distance to salvaging the Chelsea season that we've seen? 03717 223344 at 10:30.
The big news is that Liam Rosenior has been sacked by Chelsea after 5 straight Premier League losses in which Chelsea didn't score a single goal. That's their worst record since 1912. Now, Chelsea would have preferred Rosenior to stay and be judged in years rather than weeks, but it simply wasn't possible. And as a consequence, a mid-season change is needed. Even though Rosenior only got the job in January, what I can tell you is that the players have already been informed. They were off today, and Callum McFarland will take charge of the team until the end of the season on an interim basis, and that includes the weekend's FA Cup semi-final against Leeds United at Wembley, and then Chelsea in the summer will do a thorough process to replace Rosenior, but they're going to take their time with that. So Rosenior sacked after that loss to Brighton, arguably Chelsea's worst performance in many, many years, and it is an interim manager in Callum McFarland to take charge until the end of the season.
Ben, firstly, well done on breaking the news. I'm looking at all the other media outlets. We've got it before everyone, so I really appreciate you telling talkSPORT first. Why the big change of heart? Because it wasn't that long ago the owners came out and almost confirmed the fact that they were going to stick with their manager, and they see him in that position for a long, long time. Why all of a sudden is it the change of heart? Is it the performance? Is it the result last night?
It's a results-driven business, and I also think that there was an issue with the dressing.
You've got to feel sorry for Liam Rosenior after Chelsea's player power saw them through to another major final. Interim head coach Callum McFarland thanked Robert Sanchez, where's he been all season, for somehow keeping out Anton Stach's powerful volley. Enzo Fernandez's header was enough to beat informed Leeds, and Ali McCoist was impressed with the £100 million man's movement.
Defenders always take the step back to defend the goal. It's just a natural thing to do. And then he actually went front, stood still, and then can run the back a little bit and give himself a little bit of movement. A bit of space, I beg your pardon.
Chelsea versus Man City in the FA Cup final will be live on talkSPORT on Saturday, May the 16th, 3 o'clock kickoff. Pep, meanwhile, is letting his players fly around the world to chill out before the title run-in. They've got a week off before playing Everton. Spurs and Netherlands playmaker Xavi Simons is heartbroken. He'll miss the World Cup with a suspected ACL injury. What a season he's had. Hearts boss Derek McInnes has told talkSPORT Breakfast he's known since September his squad were capable of something special, and they're 3 points clear with 4 games to go in the Premiership after another late winner, this time over Hibs.
No, that's no through chance that you're scoring loads of late winners. You know, it's like it illustrates a lot of things. Strength of character, but strength of the squad, strength of fitness, you know, that kind of determination.
Hearts host Rangers on Monday, and was York City's 103rd minute equaliser against Rochdale to climb out the National League the best season finale of all time.
The only one that I can compare it to, Ali, is 1989. And Liverpool and Arsenal on the final day, Michael Thomas. That's the only one I can really think of.
York City fan and commentator John Champion feels for Rochdale, who go into the playoffs despite racking up 106 points this season. There's more, as ever, at talksport.com.
Monday morning, good morning everybody. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. We're live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. Whatever you want to watch us, you can see this show. Samsung, Fire TV, Apple TV, even Prime Video. You can tune in and watch it as well as listen to it. Sad news at the end of last week. Former Daily Mail sports columnist Brian Scott passed away at the age of 82. I knew Brian in my time up in Scotland, a lovely man. Very sad to hear that news. I'm delighted to hear the news of so many of you with your own marathon stories this morning, and many of you getting in touch regards those stories. I'm delighted about that. Delighted that so many of you had a great old day. I was looking at some of them running along by the Thames yesterday. Gary Roger, I think you work for ITV, Gary. You're a Rangers fan. You ran the marathon yesterday for the Alzheimer's Society. Well done to you. A great effort. Well done to Matt, who does a bit of work for the fire service and ran in his fireman's kit. My God, try doing that. You did it the hard way, Matt. Well done to you, and you completed it, and you did very well. And Ed, who works in the boxing department, Ed Huntley, he ran, completed it. He's got his medal to show for it, as did Shaban. Shaban did the weekend breakfast show and then did the marathon. How about that? Well done, very good.
Well
Shaban,
done.
well done to you for doing that. Well done, everybody who ran the marathon, the London Marathon, and completed it yesterday because it was pretty warm out there.
And the winner, Jim, let's not forget, a world record time. Wow.
Unbelievable. Sub 2 hours.
Iconic.
Oh, my good grief. I mean, how did he do that? How did he do that?
21 kilometres an hour he's running up.
Amazing. How did Chelsea get themselves to an FA Cup final? But they have, even after the stop-start season that they've been having. How far could an FA Cup trophy go to salvaging the Chelsea season that we have seen so far? Daniel, good morning. You've been waiting patiently. Good morning. What do you think of it?
Yeah, good morning, gents. I think a cup win is great for any team, and it is great, but it does just paper over the cracks of what the season's been like. I think that we've just been naive in how we've approached everything. We've gone for young managers with not the experience of the big clubs. We've gone for young players who have got the talent and the potential, but that's what it is, potential.
Yeah.
There's no real leadership and ownership on the pitch. It's about having that balance. So you need someone in the centre of defence that's going to control the game, tell players when to get up and manage that line. Like Martin Keown did, Tony Adams did, players like that, John Terry, Carvalho. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we did was let Jackson go on loan. Now, his goal scoring wasn't great, but his movement off the ball was. So...
Carry on,
Sorry about that.
Daniel. We won't say where that came from, but I'm looking at Simon. He's got a guilty look in his face. Carry on, mate.
Jackson's movement off the ball was what created so much space for Palmer.
Yeah,
agree.
And how crazy is it that he goes and Palmer doesn't have the season that he had last year, doesn't have the numbers that he put on the board.
Daniel, before you leave us, if they get one or two experienced players in, are they all that far away from being where you want them to be?
I think, no, not with the players, but I think it's also about having the right manager. Now, don't get someone in on a 6-year contract. Try and get someone who's got the experience, who can build something on a 2 or 3 year contract. And I know his methods aren't great, but someone like a Conte who doesn't take the power player and doesn't bow down to their needs. He's the one that runs the show. Now, it doesn't always work great, but that's what some of these players need. I think they need to wake up to the real world. Now,
Dan, you've raised some really good points, and I agree with them. And in terms of the manager key thing, obviously, that since Thomas Tuchel, if you look at what the managers have achieved, the Graham Potters, they've not won major trophies coming in. Even Maresca had one promotion, okay? So now you're looking at Cesc Fabregas, who won again yesterday, who's probably going to be maybe the next best thing, we don't know. And you've got Areola, who's done it at Bournemouth. Would you go with one of those, or goes against that belief that you need to come here with a pot full of trophies?
I don't just think it's about a pot full of trophies. It's more about the person. So has Areola, has Cesc Fabregas had to deal with a dysfunctional dressing room? Have they had to deal with players who believe they're bigger than the manager and bigger than the club? It's someone who can manage those mentalities and actually bring them back down to earth in the real world.
Yeah, fair point.
Like I say, you wouldn't get away with that in any other industry, any other job. So
the Chelsea dressing room has always been very difficult to manage.
Yeah,
but we've always had players in there, managers in there, who are strong characters to manage that, like Ranieri, Mourinho, Ancelotti. Like,
they're not available now.
Okay, Daniel, listen, we will see in the fullness of time who comes in and takes over from Callum McFarlane at the moment. I want to go to you, Phil. You've been waiting patiently. Where is the biggest change required at Chelsea this summer, Phil? The pitch, the dugout, or the boardroom?
Well, we need a new manager. The best manager is right under our nose at West Ham. Yeah, I personally believe he is the best manager in the Premier League at the moment. Nuno is a fantastic manager. We should have had him when he left Wolves. He could have taken over. He could have taken this club to some giddy heights that we've already been at. We also need experience.
Phil, he lasted 6 months at Spurs, Phil.
Sorry?
Do you feel now he's a different Nuno he only lasted 6 months at Spurs when he was given a big club opportunity.
Spurs is a poison chalice, and it always has been.
And Chelsea
no
isn't.
one can do anything at Spurs. It doesn't matter how. With Chelsea, I mean, look, what were we before Jose took over, and then that carried on. We weren't that poison chalice. Tottenham have gone through management after management after management. They can't do it because
So
the
did
players.
you guys. So did you guys. You guys sacked managers even when they achieved things. So when you say that they go through management, you won things, but you went through your managers as well.
Yeah, I agree. But we have good managers, though.
You did. Yes, fair enough. Yes, right. Yeah, you did.
Actually, Phil, I want to throw this at you before you leave us. This improved performance that we saw at Wembley, is it more damaging on the players or is it more damaging on Liam Rosenior?
Well, it's going to be more damage on Leo Rosenior because they had a fallout with him, so that's player power. But personally, you don't know who's going to turn up, what Chelsea's going to turn up for what game. You know, we have a squad full of great individuals, but we haven't got a team.
Yeah.
You know, we're hoping that these youngsters will one day be very good players so we can sell them and make money off them. And that's Blue Co's way. They want to make money. I know it's a business, but to supporters, it's not a business. It's a club. It's a passion. It's our pride. It's the way we are. And until these Americans understand this, then I'm sorry, Chelsea's gone. We're only going to be a mid-table club if we're lucky.
All right, Phil, that's quite a call. Thanks to all the Chelsea fans who have got in touch. I want to throw this at you, Mr. Keon, before we hit the break. Ever pull the hair of an opponent in your time as a player?
No, never done.
Yes, you did. You must have done. Of course you did.
No. Rude Gullit was probably the closest I came to. I think got hit in the face by the dreadlocks occasionally.
The whiplash.
The whiplash, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you probably saw it during yesterday's Cup semi. Dominic Calvert-Lewin of Leeds appeared to pull the hair of Mark Cucurella, and he's got plenty of hair, let's face it. The VAR reviewed the situation, but no punishment came. And Simon, this is so soon after the events at Old Trafford, when Calvert-Lewin had his hair pulled by Lisandro Martinez, and the Argentinian was shown a straight red. I mean, how hard line should the game be on this trend that we see, if it indeed is a trend?
Well, Martinez gets sent off ironically, doesn't he, for doing this to Calvert-Lewin, and now Calvert-Lewin's involved in it. I didn't think there was enough evidence that he actually pulled the hair, do you know?
He didn't get enough of a handful.
I don't think look, they looked at it, VAR's had a good look. He hasn't yanked his hair. I think it's almost like, I don't know, I've not been in that position, but it's almost too tempting for the player to ignore and not pull the hair, but he does. He kind of has a little go and then pulls away. So I don't think it's enough to send him off.
I mean, the game should be pretty hard line on this, should it not, Simon?
It should be hard line on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It should be hard line on shirt pulling. It should be, I mean...
It's a straight sending off, Jim.
Yeah, to some extent, yeah. I mean, obviously players now have different hairstyles, but then back in the 70s they had long hair, so it's not something that hasn't become part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to take each instance by its own individual merits, and VAR has to look at it properly, and then you'll still have an element of objectivity because referees are supposed to be have an element of objectivity, and this is an objective situation because if they're pulling someone's hair, how much of their hair are they pulling? How much of an effect does it have on them? I mean, if you want something to stop and you want it to be off the table as far as a conversation,
I think he should cut his hair.
You should cut with Cucurella.
Do you know, a bit of fun here? If it was an Arsenal player, Jim, if it was an Arsenal player, you'd be saying get his hair cut. It's his fault.
Actually, later on this morning, former player Dean Holdsworth, he's been talking about his life when he played against you, Martin. You seemingly left quite an impression on him, literally. We're going to talk about Arsenal very shortly. Do they have any need or requirement to unshackle themselves? We'll look at that next. We're live in talkSPORT this Monday morning with Selco, where the trade goes. It's expensive as well, living in Paris by the sounds of it, Emmanuel. It's expensive being Emmanuel Petit by the sounds of it as well.
No, so happy to be Emmanuel Petit, you know.
Oh, quite right.
If I was not Emmanuel Petit, I wish I would be. I could be Emmanuel Petit. Honestly, my life is beautiful. You
Well,
know?
let's get into this. What do you like about him?
Well, I always do what I like, you know. I don't do things because I don't want to do it. And this is a luxury, especially nowadays. People would think, okay, with the money you earn, but I gave everything to my ex-wives. I had 3 divorces, and I gave the half of it to the States too. So, but I'm still very happy. I try, you know, every single morning when I wake up, I want to stay positive because life is beautiful. I know it's very difficult, but if you want things to change in your life, you have to be positive. This is my religion.
Coming on this show often might change that.
Well, I was going to say,
if I have to come every single day with Simon, maybe.
I'm positive. I was going to say, Emmanuel, you only do things in life that you want to do, and you're sitting beside him.
It's a luxury, actually,
Yes,
because
it's a luxury.
most of the people, they don't have the choice to do it.
Do you know when you won it in '98? What was the culture like in that squad? The environment. What
Amazing.
was it? What was the mood? Who's your best pal in that squad?
Patrick, Fabien.
Monday morning, Monday, April the 27th. It is a massive week, though, is it not? This Wednesday, Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. First leg of the Champions League semi-final, that one. And it's live on talkSPORT. It is a massive game, is it not? Before that, Paris Saint-Germain play Bayern Munich in the other semi-final. That is tomorrow night. Southampton play Ipswich in the Championship. My God, everywhere you look, there are huge games on the go because it's that time in the season. And Arsenal have returned to the Premier League summit with a 1-0 win over Newcastle. With Manchester City in FA Cup action, Arsenal went 3 points clear, having played one game more. So here we go with Martin in studio this Monday morning. They play Fulham at home next. Victory would take them 6 points ahead before Manchester City travel to Everton. Eze scored at the weekend, the 9th minute, but Arsenal, it's fair to say, Martin, struggled after that to open up Newcastle, finishing with an XG, expected goals, if you like, of 0.64, whatever that means. Their second lowest in a Premier League home game this season. So they won, Martin, and well done Arsenal for doing so. But with 4 games to go, can Arsenal unshackle themselves? Do they need to?
Well, I mean, look, to be honest, the situation Arsenal are in is normal. It's never easy to be a team that doesn't win it after successive years. 22 years for Arsenal, 26 years, wasn't it, for Manchester United, 44 years for Man City. You know, we can still hear Aguero in the commentary because what it meant and the day they tripped up there against Queen's Park Rangers. So these nerves are there. It's natural. I just thought that the weekend, Eze, how he handled those nerves, I think he's an example to everybody in the team, how he's loving the situation. I was stunned by the naivety of Newcastle, not recognising that, okay, we're all marking in the box, but that's not the play we need to pick up. And there was 2 early corners that was assigned to that, and his finish was magnificent.
But that's strange, isn't it? Eze, the one player who's never been involved in a title run-in, in a title race, is the standout.
Yes, but you think about his progression in the game, 27 years of age. Arsenal didn't want him, rejected him. His route to this level, He's enjoying the moment, embracing it, and that has to be the attitude. I think if I contrast that with Zupimendi, he's played a lot of games. It's a difficult moment for him, but then these are the players you support. The result does the trick. It gives you that tonic. It makes you think you can keep going. You know, we've sat here now so many times. For me, it's been like climbing Mount Everest here. We have 4 games to go where Arsenal are top of the league and in the semi-final of the Champions League, and there's a crisis everywhere, every week. I just think it's like, just forget all the noise, start to turn up, start to play. What was really nice for me to see Saka back on the pitch again, because all the connections were back.
There's no crisis, certainly.
No.
I mean, even Arteta says the run-in was never going to be a bunch of roses. Have a listen to him.
I don't expect after 22 years not winning it that it's going to be a path of roses and beautiful and beautiful music around it. So it's going to be like this, and we are ready for it. It's so hard to win in this league. We know that. That's why, you know, the amount of points that the team that we have now compared to other years is different, and the reason is because it's so competitive, so difficult to do it. And we know at halftime the message was clear: we need to go score the second goal. We tried, but when you are not that efficient in certain areas, we certainly have to have other issues, other things to win the game.
I mean, Simon, is it wishful thinking, do you think, to suggest a team in the precipice of their first title in a long, long time is going to do it in a totally relaxed, free-flowing way?
Well, the people will draw the parallel between how they were at the beginning of the season and how they are now, and how laboured they look, and how they've opened the door to Manchester City. Yes, Man City's performance accelerated, but that doesn't mean that Arsenal's has to go into regression. So they've made it more difficult for themselves. I mean, they beat Newcastle. That's all they have to do, is they have to win the games that are in front of them. And of course, now you get into the business end of the season. It's not a crisis management. It's a case of every game is going to engender a narrative in the media, whether it's Man City or Arsenal. If Arsenal lose against Atletico Madrid, people are going to start suggesting that they're on the wobble, and there's a problem if they lose the Champions League semi-final. It's going to reflect upon the Premier League. I didn't think the League Cup final would be a determinant of the league, but it may well have been, because they didn't turn up in the League Cup final, and as a result of that, they've gone on to draw and lose games in the league that have caused this situation where they're now under pressure to have to win every single game. And the interesting thing is going to be, and I don't know what Martin thinks, this is a foot race now, because if they both win all their 4 games, it's going to be about who scores the most goals. Man City turned up against Burnley, won 1-0. I know they had 30 shots on target or on goal, but only won 1-0. The more difficult game in my mind was obviously Newcastle, because despite Newcastle having a difficult time, they are a decent side. Eddie Howe is a decent manager, and they're not struggling to stay in the Premier League. They're struggling to have the expectations met of the fan base. So it was always going to be a difficult game, but they've won 1-0. The interesting thing will be, do you think both teams, Martin, are going to win all their games?
I don't think they are. And I don't think we should be underestimating some of these games. And we don't even know when the games for Man City now will be played, because obviously the cup final comes a week before the end of the season. And that's all a determining factor. Both teams with 6 games to play, Arsenal 7 if they make it to a Champions League final. So they've got to be all placed.
Arsenal must create this mountain. They must create this mountain again. They must go and beat Fulham. Because whilst it's a difficult one, and Fulham have been their undoing in a couple of seasons, right? Then becomes a mountain again. Doesn't matter. Man City have got to have 2 games in hand. They've still got to climb that mountain. Arsenal on top of that mountain again. Man City have got to climb it again, and the pressure switches back to Manchester City, and the expectation switches onto them.
3 out of the 4 for Arsenal are London derbies. Fulham at home, West Ham away, Burnley at home, Palace away.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like here, Jim, the bragging rights. Does it make it more difficult? I'm not going to present a set of excuses. You just got to go and win those games, haven't you? And then the bragging rights is all yours.
Depends what's again. You've got nuance in these games. Depends if West Ham are fighting, because West Ham are fighting.
West Ham have been remarkable.
They are fighting
since January.
And if they need points against Arsenal. Arsenal are going to be in a game. Now Palace may well be may have beaten Shakhtar Donetsk. They may well be looking forward to a European Cup final of some shape or description, or they may be on the beach, because neither's going to happen for them. They're not going to get relegated and out of the European competition.
Yeah,
Glasnow's on his way out. So it all depends. All those games have their own nuances.
Yeah,
but it's upon Arsenal to win these games. They've got the talent. Saka coming back into the side is a massive.
Everywhere you look, since the Forest game, when West Ham lost, Jim, they lost 2 games back to back. They lost to Wolves and lost to Forest, and everyone thought they were down. They'd be 5th now if the Premier League was starting after that day. As such has been West Ham's performances.
Right.
So
Arsenal did the business, Mark.
Man City, though, Man City have to go to Everton, which is a difficult one, and Brentford, Villa, wherever you look, whoever gets it will have to go and earn it.
I want to build up to this, because City getting to the FA Cup final, their 24th visit to Wembley under Guardiola. They had their first trophyless season last year since 2017. Now they've won the Carabao Cup, they're in the title race, and they're in an FA Cup final. Now, City were in a state of turmoil this time last year, staring at a first trophyless season in 2017. But here's the situation, Martin, on City. I mean, could we really see a situation unfold where Manchester City go from trophyless to treble and Arsenal go from trophyless to trophyless?
Was that a headline you want to run? Is that the next headline you want to run as to put Arsenal?
It's a potential headline, isn't it?
Well, it is, but also Arsenal could win 2 trophies.
They could.
Couldn't they? And Man City might not win another one. Do you know? So it's in the balance, isn't it? There's a great opportunity for both of them, both sets of groups. Of course, City are starting to... I really like the way Pep has gone back to basics, Jim, in terms of the way that he plays, the structure of his team. They've all been magnificent. But they are not. This, I keep saying about pressure, it's not exclusive to the Arsenal dressing room. It's going to be everywhere, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
It's how you handle that.
Yeah.
But I would like to see, Havertz going off. It's kind of like Arsenal get 1 back and then 2 go off injured.
Yeah.
I don't think we should underestimate.
No.
Arsenal need a clean bill of health and they need these bodies
I'm
back.
not finishing this hour on a pessimistic note, but you have to wonder how recoverable the situation might be psychologically in the long term if Arsenal end up throwing it away in the Premier League. And Petit was good in this.
I will answer that question as a player, as a former player. I will be so annoyed. I will think to myself, is it time for me to go somewhere else? Because we've been playing, fighting for the title and for any reason. And this, for me, this season, especially, you have no excuse.
No.
You lose it.
But do you think, I think it'd be crazy to get rid of Arteta personally, even if they don't win anything. But the fans, some Arsenal fans are suggesting if they don't win anything, he should go.
Probably, yeah.
Martin, Arsenal have got Fulham, West Ham, Burnley and Palace. Are you worried?
Jim, just going back to that. For me, that's a ridiculous question to be asking somebody before. We're still in the heat of the battle here. Do you know? In a boxing match, we were in the round 10. The bout has not finished.
It's not a ridiculous question to ask.
Because
you have to ask.
It is, because let's ask it at the end.
If it goes wrong, psychologically, what will the effect be?
The question not been asked about City, has it? It's been asked on the Arsenal play. As you know, from week to week, it's been, this thing.
That's because City don't have a habit of coming second.
No, but they've got history behind them, and they've got a manager who's been.
You could put it that way.
Yeah.
And Arsenal
but when Pep goes, it's going to be very difficult for the club, and that first trophy they secure when he's gone will be very important.
Where
it's the same thing for Arteta.
Are you worried they slip up at Fulham, West Ham, Burnley, or Palace, or do you see 4 straight wins?
I'm only looking at the next one, and that's Atletico Madrid. I'm sorry, Jim, but we have to push that one away to one side. There's another opportunity as well in the room, and that's a chance to get to a final of a Champions League. They're in 2 back-to-back semi-finals. That's big for the football club. Never done it before.
Yeah.
So progress is being made. So let's not wipe that progress away.
For the purpose of this discussion, I think they're bigger opportunities. I think if this team continues to play the way they are, I think they'll beat Atletico Madrid, but I think they'll get done by either Bayern Munich or PSG in the final, which will not make them particularly happy losing the final, irrespective of whether.
It's a one-off, though, isn't it? You get that one.
I do.
Over 2 legs, Bayern.
I think Arsenal.
PSG.
I think Arsenal's better opportunity is to win the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I think with the games they've got in front of them, I think the most difficult game they've possibly got is Fulham, because I think Silva is a very good manager. Fulham are a very good side. They've done it to Arsenal a few times over the last couple of years. They're in reasonable nick themselves. So
they don't score many goals.
They don't score many goals, but neither do your team.
I think West Ham.
So we have this situation where
what's on that game and the history and the way the West Ham fans are, and in their own back garden, and obviously fighting. They're fighting for just as much for themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's a classic game.
Yeah, Arsenal inching towards it. And that one in Madrid, that game against Atletico Madrid, I think Mr. Keon, you'll be there, will you? Looking forward to that, Martin. Looking forward to it immensely. It's 11 o'clock this Monday morning.
What's happened?
Hello, matey.
What's happened?
You all right?
How are you, matey? You good?
I'm all right. Yeah, very well. Thank you very much.
Gaffer's gone.
Yeah.
Gaffer's slapped.
Yeah, last night's performance
Slap.
was unacceptable, mate.
Yeah, he
It's-
got slapped.
Yeah, something.
Slap.
That could not stay the same. The run of results and performances have just led to this. I mean, you heard me last night. I was absolutely crestfallen last night.
Thought he'd done well, mate. Thought he'd done well.
Well,
First
the
2
fact
minutes,
that
he was
he's
good.
gone suggests that he didn't. You know, it's one of those situations that something had to give, and we weren't. You know, you can't go through over 8 hours of football without scoring a match in a game in the Premier League. You can't do that. Those glasses look ridiculous.
What do you mean?
Are they hurting your eyes? I'll put them on. They start to.
I can't see nothing.
So if I do some hand signals to you, you won't see them.
No, I can't see. I actually genuinely. I'm disappointed. He's a good manager, Rosenior.
Well,
playing some good stuff.
He may well be in the future a very good manager, but right here, right now, things were falling apart at the seams, and they were.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Who's really in charge at Chelsea? Martin Keown's told White and Jordan he thinks it's the players.
Not the manager. And it's like they decided a semi-final, they've turned up and they've offered a performance.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
Whereas the game before, I'm sorry, it was awful to watch.
Callum McFarlane could become the latest Chelsea interim to win a major trophy. What would an FA Cup do for their season?
Economically, it'll put them back in Europe. It'll answer questions that the owners will be able to turn around and say that we still win things. But the fans will not have it.
Chelsea play Man City in the FA Cup final live on talkSPORT 2 weeks on Saturday. Now, looking at that relegation battle, Harry Redknapp thinks it's now between West Ham and Spurs.
Leeds are playing well. Look like they're going to get out of it 40 points. You know, they're almost, I don't know. I mean, Tottenham or West Ham, could they go on a run and win 3 games or whatever? You know, it's going to be a real nail biter.
The injured Xavi Simons is out for the season and will miss the World Cup. In the Scottish Premiership, Hearts boss Derek McInnes is believed since September they beat Hibs after another late goal.
No, that's no through chance that you're scoring loads of late winners. You know, it's like it illustrates a lot of things. Strength of character, strength of the squad, strength of fitness, you know, that kind of determination.
3 points clear with 4 games to go. Hearts host second-place Rangers on Monday. And York City's slightly worse for wear Josh Stones told us he's watched his National League winning goal back at least 15 times.
As a group last night, we went to a Chinese restaurant, sat down, had dinner, and we all just watched it and over and over and over. And it just gets better every time.
More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer setting out plans to crack down on shoplifting, and the White House insists the King and Queen will be safe during their visit to America. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. You can't trust the weather right now, but you can always trust Pirelli tyres. In stock now at your local centre. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
A dry day for all of us, except a bit of rain in northern Scotland. In the south, warm and bright before clouding over this afternoon. Heavy showers moving into the east as well.
Good morning, everybody. It is 6 minutes past 11 o'clock on this beautiful Monday morning in this part of the world down in the southeast. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. Alongside us, Arsenal invincible Martin Keown. And of course, Arsenal fans listen to Mr. Keon whenever he speaks about their great club as they try to win that Premier League title, as they try to win the Champions League title. There's Martin, a fella I used to work with at Sky, actually, Martin. For your Arsenal chat, Jim, just wondering, what's happened to Max Dowman? He said he's hardly featured since he basically won the game on his own against Everton. We know he's young, etc. In 4 years, he could be the most famous player in England. Where is he? Did you expect to see more of him, Martin?
Possibly. Of course, he came on against Everton and was at two classic, incredible moments. These are big situations, and the last few games, they've been in front and then trying to see games through, haven't they? And the Man City game maybe was being deemed too big for him, but he'll play a part in this season, Jim. Don't worry about that. There's going to be opportunities.
Okay, what kind of season is it going to end up being for Arsenal's North London rivals, Tottenham Hotspur? So Tottenham went to Wolverhampton Wanderers at the weekend and they won their first game of 2026 by a single goal to nil. Here's the thing, though, Simon, in spite of that, what's the bigger gut punch, do you think? Callum Wilson's last-minute winner for West Ham, or Xavi Simons and a season-ending injury when he was a player who looked like he was capable of doing things for them?
I think the loss of the player. I mean, what West Ham do, they can't control. It's not within their remit. It's not within their gift. Of course, it's going to be a potential choker if they were sitting at home watching the game, but they were playing at the same time. So it wasn't visible to them till after they've achieved what they wanted to achieve, which was get their first win on the board. They have to focus on what they can do rather than what the opposition are doing. They have an opportunity. Villa are playing on Thursday in a European Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest, which is going to be a battle. So they're likely to be leggy on the Sunday, so it gives Spurs an opportunity. And so they've got to focus on what they're doing. But West Ham digging that goal out in the last minute will have changed the whole dynamic again, because Spurs would have been out of the bottom three, West Ham would have been in the bottom three, and the whole scenario would have been slightly different.
Yeah.
But it creates fascinating outcomes for both clubs. Spurs have got their win. They had to work for it. It wasn't a great game. They beat a poor side. But I think they'll get some momentum from it. The goalkeeper, this is the goalkeeper that everyone said was buried, right? This is the goalkeeper that's never going to recover.
Really good save at the end.
Never going to recover. His career has been ruined. Everyone go out and give him a big hug. Saves him in the last minute. And people talk nonsense.
He showed resilience.
There
you go.
Simons, I do feel sorry for him, Jim. Tudor didn't really understand the player he had in the building. I thought Thomas Frank, in the end, was getting the best from him. He's so frustrated, obviously, to be out. I was a little bit surprised that he was given another opportunity to give it another go, because this is a serious injury. I hope it doesn't actually affect his recovery. Solanke's injured as well.
Yeah.
So, again, these injuries for Spurs are absolutely, as much of this may be played on who's coming back, who's going to be ready to get and enjoy. But it does stop this sort of Titanic. It stops it in the water and try to turn it around.
Yeah.
But for me, it's shipping too much water. And it will probably go down because everyone else around them is maintaining their form, is winning games. Somehow they're finding victories. Forest have been quite magnificent under Pereira. And West Ham, Núñez, we've already said how well they've done since January the 9th when they got beat by Forest. So these teams are kind of suited to it. And Spurs, this is one win. So it goes to the next game. It just takes
You're telling me West Ham will just get out of it, but Spurs will go down?
I always said, we've been sat in here each week saying I thought probably West Ham's fixtures looked more difficult, but now they just keep producing. They keep finding a goal. When they came back into it, the game at the weekend, and West Ham found another goal, Callum Wilson off the bench, Jim, it was like it feels like it's written. There's a unity now about West Ham, where Disasi I was doing a piece on him at the weekend. Is the way that he's picked up the baton. He's a West Ham man now, and he was in that bomb squad at Chelsea. He didn't feel like he was a part of anything. Maybe this second chance, Mavropanos as well, due for the bat, and Souček's goals.
Nuno Espirito has done brilliantly, and the way that he handles the media, the way that he speaks. I have mixed emotions about him. I think he was a bit of a political animal at Wolves and can be quite a difficult manager to handle. I don't think he was a fit for Spurs, evidently. Went to Saudi for money, came back, did a brilliant job at Nottingham Forest, opened his mouth perhaps when he had good reason to do it, but probably should have done it privately because of the nature of his relationship with Marinakos. But at West Ham, I know you were getting text messages of various people saying this guy will never get him out of the problem. He's more than got him out of the problem. He's given him a real fight. And his disposition is very calm, very collected. His players clearly want to play for him. And the culture, look at this West Ham fan base now. fully behind their team, fully behind their manager. They're becoming the 12th man, and you can't ask for anything more from the manager than what he's done. Whether they're going to, the part of me, whatever I say is always wrong. I tipped Rangers to win the league last week. Of course, they're going to bleed and lose the next game. So I keep my big fat trap shut, which most people probably agree with. I can see many people cheering for that. But I think it's a real nip and tuck situation. And if Spurs can go and get a result, they've got Brentford and Arsenal coming up. Brentford are in decent nick and are a decent side, and Arsenal have a need. And they've got the quality, and this is their Premier League title on the right. So they're going to be a very difficult game for them there.
Are both of you telling me it's a two-way battle?
Absolutely.
So Forest are safe. Are they on 39 points?
No one's safe.
Leeds are out of it on 40.
No one is safe. And it's the same as the top of the table. You go from game to game. You know, I think 3 of them have got away games, Jim. Looking at Forest away at Chelsea. What sort of Chelsea team's going to turn up? That'd be handy if it's not the FA Cup team that turns up.
Yeah.
Then Brentford for West Ham away. Villa away for Spurs. There's no easy games in there. Maybe Leeds can put it out of sight and they can climb away. Got a home game this weekend, and then they play Spurs.
Yeah.
So you just go from game to game. But
I think the two
Leeds can
teams,
climb away.
I think Forest and Leeds are going to get more points somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not going to get loads of points, but they might get another couple of points each. All of a sudden, that's 41 and 43 points respectively. I think 39 points is going to get you relegated.
Right.
So beyond that, you're in a situation where both of those sides, I think, will achieve that. They have achieved it already.
It's on Spurs.
I kind of agree with you, Simon, that Nuno is capable, yes. And he's doing all right, more than all right, as West Ham are fighting for the Premier League lives. So are Tottenham. And now De Zerbi's in there. Have a listen.
I'm happy for the result. I hope this result can change something in our head, in our mentality. And for the other results, we can't. Is already very tough to win a game for us. If we put our head on the other teams, become too tough for me.
See, I wonder, there might well be a transformative moment
maybe
for Tottenham. That sudden feeling of victory and what it does for them.
But if they make it out, he'll say that was the defining moment. But if they don't, then he'll say they were crippled with injuries.
But he'll also say they didn't have enough time. Nuno Espirito Santo had a longer runway. If you'd probably bought De Zerbi in the 7 games or 5 games or however many games Tudor had, you gave yourself a runway to correct the ship, to get people focused, to get a few extra points in that particular run of form that they didn't get.
Yeah.
And that would have been the difference, the longer runway. Because if you remember rightly, Nuno was struggling at the beginning of his tenure at West Ham. He's now got it together, and they're now a formidable side. Whereas De Zerbi has got to spin on a sixpence. He doesn't have any time. He has to get the team, and he's got the one result. He's got 2 results. He's got a draw against Brighton, which, by the way, they could have won that game, and perhaps should have won the game. That was a better performance. And they've got the win against Wolves. In the Villa game against the Villa side that will be either in great form after beating Nottingham Forest, but either which way, or disappointed, either which way, they're going to be tired.
He did say going into the weekend's game that they can win all 5 games, and at that point they were on 31 points. And that would have stopped, if he wins all 5 games, that's half the points they currently got.
Right.
So I'm not sure that's going to happen, but he's won the first game, and it's a cup final. So it's a mindset, and he's changed, he's spinning it round. But as I say, I just think they're just taking on too much water.
I don't have a lot of time to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Are Newcastle lucky there's only 4 games left of this season?
Well, they're just a couple of points above Leeds, aren't they? On 42 points, I believe.
Yeah.
Looking at the table.
Correct.
So
you know where I'm going with it.
Well, the Champions League and all the games they've had to delay, and the Isak situation, Jim, losing him and then not replacing him, not finding the right. It's been a problem for them. And when they played at home to Bournemouth and they were outrun and outworked, that was a major issue for them.
I mean, look at it, Simon. The defeat to Arsenal means Newcastle have now lost 9 games in 12 and 4 in a row.
Yeah.
And we're in April.
Yeah, they're not in good nick at the moment. They don't. You look at their performance against Arsenal. There were moments in the game where they looked quite good, and there's moments in all the games this season where they've looked quite good. Very rarely have they looked like a side completely out of sorts. At the beginning of the season, they couldn't buy a win away from home, and people were trying to work out what it was. Now they're struggling at home. The balance of the side isn't right. You know it's going to get broken up again. The centre forward they brought in to replace Isak isn't the right fit.
Voltemada
isn't the right fit.
They've got
playing as a midfield player.
They've got to play Forest and West Ham.
But I mean, look at the chance they had. I mean, you've got to score goals. You buy a centre forward in like Wissa from Brentford. He's got. I mean, that chance that the boy that we just talked about, the German player,
strong goals.
He's got to score. They've got to score, and the manager can't legislate for that.
He's been injured for I've never really seen the best of him. I thought it was a good signing when he went there. Tonali is a player then. Bruno, I thought they were brilliant at the weekend, Jim. Bruno's not been available, has he, for long periods? So they're back in now. They may lose those players. This is the unfortunate thing, the financial fair play.
They may lose to Forest. They may lose to West.
They need a win.
They're fighting for their life.
I think they probably are looking over their shoulder. The manager said very complimentary things. It was still another loss. So they need to pick up a win very quickly.
I'll put it out there. Newcastle fans, you know your team has now lost 9 games in 12 and 4 in a row. Are you lucky there's only 4 games left of this season? And while I'm on it, where are you at now with Eddie? You might want to give us a call on that in the passing, Newcastle fans. 03717 223344.
talkSPORT's Alex Crook has got some information about Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, I think the vibe coming out of the Northwest for some time now has been that Pep Guardiola is more likely to depart than to stay at the end of the season. Whether winning the Premier League title will influence that decision one way or another remains to be seen, but it does seem like the direction of travel is this is going to be the last few weeks of Pep Guardiola's tenure, despite the fact he's got another year left on his contract. There was always a suspicion, I think, from Chelsea that when Enzo Maresca left the club on New Year's Day, his next port of call would be Manchester City. talkSPORT understands Maresca very much the front runner. Should, as expected, Pep Guardiola step down at the end of his trophy-laden tenure at the end of the season. There has been some suggestions that maybe there's still some contractual issues with Chelsea. We're being told by sources close to Maresca that he is free to take another job as soon as this summer. And I've been told by more than one source that high-level talks between Manchester City, their sporting director Hugo Viana, and Maresca have been taking place. Now, that's not to say City want Guardiola to leave now, but of course they have to prepare for that eventuality. So Guardiola likely, we think, to depart at the end of the season, and Enzo Maresca very much the heir apparent.
And if that is to happen, what has been the impact on on the Premier League by Pep Guardiola?
I think Sir Alex Ferguson's got to be number one, hasn't he? But you would say Premier League era, Pep Guardiola number two. But that's the playing style.
I was going to say, his effect on English football has been total, hasn't it?
Because everyone's doing it.
Monday morning, we didn't expect to be talking about this, but we are talking about this. Newcastle. Are they lucky, Newcastle United? There are only 4 games left in this season. How on earth have they ended up flirting with relegation? Because that is what they've ended up doing. Newcastle United, how has it got to this? They're 14th on 42 points, 8 clear of Spurs. And the defeat to Arsenal means Newcastle have now lost 9 in 12 and 4 in a row. Eddie, what is going on? Many Newcastle fans calling in. I'm going to pick one at random. Paul, good morning. Big Newcastle fan. How's it got to this, Paul?
Hi, Simon and Jim. Big fan of Simon. I think, Simon, I don't agree with everything you say, but I do think you're a legend. Martin, you're all right.
Thank you, mate. Thanks, Paul.
Love it. And we like you too, Paul. Now, what about Newcastle?
I think Eddie Howe's had his time. Everything works in cycles. I think the media far too kind on Eddie Howe. You know, you're looking at Arne Slot's getting talked about him losing his job, and he won the Premier League last year. You know, we're talking about smaller squads, and you know, imagine Eddie Howe was at Manchester City or Manchester United or Liverpool playing in the Champions League, going all them, you know, playing 3 games a week. If we want to compete with these teams, and this is where we're being told that we want to get to, we can't have these sort of excuses. I do agree that the squad is too small, but who's driving the players into the ground? Like he refuses to differentiate away from having different systems, different rotations of players. He won't work around certain players. Baltimore at the beginning of the season, everybody was talking about how good he was. Yeah. Now all of a sudden he's a dud. Yeah. You know, I know we were going on to the Isak thing. Brentford have been ripped from their best players have been ripped from them. Brighton get ripped of their best players all the time.
Yeah. Are you worried that it's
absolutely ripped?
Are you concerned, Paul, with just 4 games left? You'll just avoid relegation.
Yeah, every Newcastle fan would be concerned because of we've won 9. Out of 12 games, we've lost 9 of them. And I don't look at the next fixtures of when we're going to win. I don't see us going into a game of when we're going to win.
Where you're going to get the points from.
It was a fortress at St James's.
Sure. Paul, listen, thanks for the call and thanks for the points you've made. Dave, do you agree with Paul? Good morning, Dave, another big Newcastle fan.
Hi, I'll give you a bit of my background. I've done every game home and away for the Champions League, so I think I know a little bit about football.
Yeah.
Mr. Keon's been a bit disrespectful. Before the news, I was furious. That's why I rang in. I mean, look at the stats. I've got the stats up here, right? We had 55% possession against Arsenal. We didn't get the look of the ball. But XG was 1 to your 0.49. The only thing you had was more corners, right? And we had more accurate passes. I'm furious with him, but he redeemed himself slightly at the end of the news, you know, by coming back. But I think you're right. I think Eddie Howe, we are looking over our shoulders. I'm really worried. And I'm worried Brighton have got a great away record, and we just don't beat Brighton.
Can you believe you're in this situation, Dave?
I can't. I really can't. I mean, look, I love Eddie to bits. He won his first cup in 70 years, etc., etc. But when do you stop saying, look, he's a great manager, he's done that? When do you stop saying, and I'm not bothered who the guy who comes in, but I don't want Mourinho.
Dave, the start of the season, Isak, 125 million. By the way, he's only just scored his first Premier League goal at Anfield this weekend. Do you think, obviously it's affected both clubs, but allowing him, should they have dealt with that much sooner?
It should have been gone. It should have been done. Same with Tonali. If Tonali wants to go, let him go now. He needs to, now, but at the end of the season, and be aware of it. I think Isak has knocked us back by probably 2, maybe 3 years. I really do. And to be saying that we're going to be world champions by 2030, I don't know what that guy's been taking, but I'll have some.
But Dave, before you leave us, they surely can't keep blaming the Isak situation for Newcastle's predicament. That was 8 months ago.
Yeah, I agree. But the roll-on effect of it, the wrong recruitment, the 200 million, you know, look at the recruitment from, I hate to say it, we're friends down the river, Sunderland, superb recruitment, you know, just bringing players in you've never heard of. Robbie, for crying out loud, he was on that talent show, wasn't he? You know?
Dave, thanks for that. I mean, it's hard to fathom it out.
But you can't. But you got to listen. With respect to Sunderland, who just got smashed 5-0 by Nottingham Forest, these are their first season back. There's a different feel around the football club, different level of expectations, different level of play or perform. Let's see how they go next year. Newcastle's got a constant level of attainments required of them. Where Eddie will lose the room. You cannot come back after losing to Barcelona and get beat again by Sunderland.
7-2, by the way.
Yeah, that game is of itself is a smack in the face. But you cannot come back from that game and reward the fans by losing at home to Sunderland. and then on the back of that going away to Crystal Palace and losing again. Those 2 games, if you look along the run that they've been in amongst, they've had Man City and other sides in there that you think are going to be difficult games. But the games that stand out for me, that tell me that there's trouble ahead, is when you can't have Sunderland do double over you. You just simply can't. As a Newcastle fan, as a Newcastle manager, as a Newcastle representative, and certainly after the back of getting knocked out of the Champions League, you got done in a drab game in the first West Side derby.
Yeah.
But this one was your opportunity to bounce back, and then you bounce back again against Palace and lose again.
I think the personnel...
They won't get relegated. They've got 42 points.
Tonali coming back, Bruno in that midfield. They're key, Jim, to what they do.
Look at the quality they've got on that side. They've got wingers that can fly. They've got Anthony Gordon, everyone's really fascinated by. Harvey Barnes is a good player. Alanga's a good player. You know,
Alanga hasn't really, for some reason, trained on. It hasn't really worked for him as well. I don't think any of the new signings have really hit the ground running here, Jim.
Well, they've won 12, Newcastle, in 34 games. Sunderland, curiously, have won 12 in 34 as well. But for Newcastle, no, I'm sorry.
Well, the next one,
and
St James's Park, it will test.
It's not good enough, is it?
I hope there's a unity that stays there, because I've admired Eddie Howe for a number of years, Jim. It's gone a bit stale. There's a first real backward step for their football club. They've been in the Champions League, obviously. The workload, the squad's not been anywhere near ready for that or fit for purpose in terms of, they still qualified, didn't they, to the latter stages of the competition. But Brighton at the weekend is a game you have to win it.
Massive game. They can't keep blaming Isak.
No, of course they can't. And they had to do what they had to do at Isak, because it was being played out by the player and the agent to try and achieve an outcome for them. Liverpool were playing hide and seek with the player. They had to get the maximum amount of money for him, and unfortunately it was played out the way that it was.
But it's a lesson, though, isn't it? If you're going to lose Tonali, it's like, obviously accept it, move on, get the money you can, and do it again.
But what do you do? Do you just suddenly say, well, I'll take £30 million less for a player because it makes it easier for everybody else?
It's a shame they can't keep these players.
The blueprint in the room currently for how to manage a football club that can't have the economic resources that others have got but can still punch its weight very heavily is Aston Villa, because they can compete seemingly now for 2 or 3 seasons at the top of the Premier League, in and amongst the top of the Premier League, and go into Europe and perform in there, and seemingly do it without having to
sell one player and then they learn people in.
And that has to be one component part, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has to be the manager.
All right, sweaty palms at Newcastle, but they'll be out of it when it comes to who actually does drop. One would think. It's 11:30. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT with Selco with the Drink Goals.
Darren Bent had his Sound Drive show earlier, suggested a left field option.
I would go for someone in that type of concept that Jill Scott's talking about.
Yeah.
I would go for like Igor Thiago from Brentford.
He's been above and beyond.
He has been unbelievable.
How many goals has he got?
I think
he's second on the Premier League list.
He's got 21.
I think he's second.
Yeah, he's the first Brentford player to go to 21 Premier League goals, because Ivan Toney at 20, Visit at 20, and Mbeumo at 20.
Unbelievable.
Do you know what I mean? And Brentford are now on the cusp of Europe. I know they're 9th right now, but if you look at where they are on the table, I mean, they're only, 2 points over 6th.
Igor Thiago, yeah, he's had a great season.
Yes, he has.
He has. And fair play to lad. He's got himself in the Brazil squad, and he's a good player.
Yep.
Is that what we're talking about, though? Brentford player getting a player of the season?
No, I can't agree with Benty, but he has done unbelievably well, and he's a bit of a throwback. I kind of hope a little bit that what we see with Haaland and Gabriel the other day, where there's that centre half against the centre forward, where you're going toe to toe, backing the players, and he's a little bit of a throwback. Those number 9s that we used to see in the Premier League, they don't exist anymore. They're tippy-tappy football. The game is all about scoring goals. If you score goals on a consistent basis, you're going to get the headlines, right? And he's doing both. is doing both. But who are those number 9s? Like those, when I used to play, like I used to play against, like, I played with Kerry Dixon, right, as a Chelsea fan, right? Proper number 9, old school number 9.
Yeah.
Are they?
You've got to feel sorry for Liam Rosenior after Chelsea's player power saw them through to another major final. Interim head coach Callum McFarlane thanked Robert Sanchez, where's he been all season, for somehow keeping out Anton Stach's powerful volley. Enzo Fernandez's header was enough to beat informed Leeds, and Ali McCoist was impressed with the £100 million man's movement.
Defenders always take the step back to defend the goal. It's just a natural thing to do. And then he actually went front, stood still, and then can run the back a little bit and give himself a little bit of movement. Yeah, a bit of space, I beg your pardon.
Chelsea versus Man City in the FA Cup final will be live on talkSPORT on Saturday, May the 16th, 3 o'clock kickoff. Pep, meanwhile, is letting his players fly around the world to chill out before the title run-in. They've got a week off before playing Everton. Spurs and Netherlands playmaker Xavi Simons is heartbroken. He'll miss the World Cup with a suspected ACL injury. What a season he's had. Hearts boss Derek McInnes has told talkSPORT Breakfast he's known since September his squad were capable of something special, and they're 3 points clear with 4 games to go in the Premiership after another late winner, this time over Hibs.
No, that's no through chance that you're scoring loads of late winners. You know, it's like it illustrates a lot of things. Strength of character, strength of the squad, strength of fitness, you know, that kind of determination.
Hearts host Rangers on Monday, and was York City's 103rd minute equaliser against Rochdale to climb out the National League the best season finale of all time.
The only one that I can compare it to, Ali, is 1989. And Liverpool and Arsenal on the final day, Michael Thomas. That's the only one I can really think of.
York City fan and commentator John Champion feels for Rochdale, who go into the playoffs despite racking up 106 points this season. There's more, as ever, at talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. It is Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. We're all live on talkSPORT. Let me tell you, my colleague here at talkSPORT, Alex Crook, is in touch with me. He understands, talkSPORT understands, Scott Parker's future at Burnley is in the balance. Following relegation from the Premier League, discussions between Parker and the Clarets hierarchy are ongoing as to whether or not he carries on beyond the end of the season. There's a strong possibility, we understand, that Parker would leave Turf Moor amicably. If he does depart Burnley, then it's our understanding, Martin, Simon, that Burnley could turn to Wales boss Craig Bellamy, who remains highly regarded from his time as company's assistant, of course, when they were there. Steven Gerrard is also keen to return to the dugout, and it's understood Gerrard's open to the possibility of a championship job. What's our reaction to all of that, Simon, at this stage?
Well, I think Scott on the whole has done a decent job at Burnley. This season has proven to be difficult, but then so did his predecessor find it difficult when he got the job at Bayern Munich, so you can't take too much from it.
Yeah.
You know, 2 years there, if Scott feels that the road's been run, or the race has been run, and they feel together the race has been run, maybe it's time for a change, because you look at certain times in the course of this year where Scott will have probably been exasperated about the lack of quality in his side. I don't think Burnley were as competitive this season as I thought they were going to be. If you saw the game that they played against Man City last week, there was aggression, they were competitive, there was intensity, which hasn't replicated it during the course of the season. And that in some way comes from the manager. But of course, if you're a team that's getting beat every single week, it's difficult to get the intensity.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard would be lucky to get this job. But people will go, oh, it's Steven Gerrard. Yeah, but look at Steven Gerrard's record. I know he did okay at Rangers. but that in of his own right, it has to be qualified, and he didn't do well at Aston Villa, and he didn't do particularly well in Saudi. So if he gets an opportunity at Burnley, which is a side that you'd expect to bounce back to the Premier League, Steven Gerrard can consider himself lucky. So I think Scott Parker goes away having done a reasonable job at Burnley, no worse than his predecessor, no worse than Vincent Kompany. And so with that in mind, it creates other opportunities for him.
Funnily enough, look no further than Scott Parker if you want to get from the Championship back up to the Premier League.
Yeah,
three playoffs with Bournemouth, Fulham and Burnley.
But it's been such a difficult season. You know, every press conference he's wheeled in front of, it's another defeat, and he has to describe it. And maybe it's time for a change. I don't think Gerrard would be such a bad idea. I know him and Lampard, their playing careers were always kind of like combined together. He's seen what Frank has now done in his own right, got his first promotion. I know he secured Champions League football for Chelsea and kept Everton up, but this is a really good achievement for Frank. I don't think Gerrard is over yet as a manager. You can see that he would have matured and learnt a lot from his experiences he's been a part of. And the parachute payments give Burnley, they'd be first in the door, wouldn't they, for most players, and they'd be able to hold on to one or two.
Well, it certainly appealed to the egos of the autograph hunting owners, if their mindset is that way inclined. If they want to get out of the league and they believe that Gerrard is fit for purpose, never managed in the Championship. The last 2 jobs he's done have been not particularly impressive. So if that's a qualification for a job, now obviously if he sits in an interview and illustrates that the hunger, the light is burning deep
into the Rangers' successes, won't he?
Sure, yeah, in a 2-horse league that was 5-6 years ago. Of course he'll point to that. But you judge people like you do in boxing by the last fight. You judge them by the last set of jobs. And he went to Saudi for a big bag of money. Didn't do very much over there. Came back because he didn't fancy it anymore and couldn't do it at Aston Villa.
Well, another horse has joined the title race in Scotland. We'll get to that. In the meantime, it's time for this.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. Gambleaware.org.
Charlie Robertson from BetMGM joins us at this stage in the proceedings. Before we go anywhere, Charlie, obviously the headline story is your stag do in Liverpool. How was it?
Morning, Jim. Yeah, it was very good, thank you. Had a great time. Feeling a little bit fragile this morning, but had a great time. 20 of us there, so we had a good time.
20 of you? And did some of these BetMGM guys like Sean Martin and Dan Towse put their hands in their pockets?
No comment.
Fair play.
We had a great time, Jim.
Are they still in Liverpool? Anyway, no, we're spending too much time on this. Tell me about the top half of the Premier League.
Obviously all change again, Jim. We had City as firm favourites before the weekend at 13-20, but after that, Arsenal win over Newcastle. We can't actually split them. They're both 9-10, so we really do think it is back on in terms of the odds anyway. It's so hard to know which camp to be in now, isn't it? Do you want to have the lead but probably not playing as well, or do you want to be playing a bit well and still have that 3-point deficit? Simon, Martin, which camp would you guys prefer to be in? I think I'd probably lean on City, but it is so hard at the moment, isn't it? That 3-point gap could prove massive at the end of the season. I think I know where Martin will be, but we'll ask him anyway.
Martin's still in the Arsenal dressing room.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm saying, it's just go from game to game, So that's what I'm looking at. You move to the next game. I think Arsenal were very good at doing that at the weekend. Let's get stuck into Newcastle. Never mind looking beyond that.
Yeah.
Your immediate opponent. Keep developing the team. The team that does that goes on to win this for me.
Who gives you more confidence, Martin, at the moment, if you're being honest?
Well, recent
and you are being honest.
Yeah, I mean, recent form, obviously, Man City, I think they're still the favourites. I think the way that they've won the League Cup, even they found the ingredients against Southampton. Obviously they had to call from the bench a little bit. Now they found a rhythm with the team. I'm interested in how the team develops and how it's growing. And they look like they're starting to click. Rodri maybe is a question mark for them, really important. But I think they might feel some pressure here at this stage.
These 6 points. Get these. It's absolutely critical that Arsenal to get this 6-point mountain in front of Man City.
Yeah, get the gap.
Get them to have a stutter step. Get them to think about it. Get them to have to win these games.
Yes,
really have to, because now all of a sudden you're back on parity. You've had a little window at the top for 15 seconds. You're down back. Now you're 6 points behind them. You might have 2 games in hand, but you've got to win these games now.
I actually think they let Arsenal off the hook by only beating Burnley 1-0.
Yeah, so do I.
You'd have looked at that and thought that's going to be 4 and 5.
What about the bottom half of the Premier League, Charlie?
Yeah, like the top, Jim, it's still so hard to call, isn't it? Actually, after Spurs' first win of 2026, we actually interestingly made them a shorter price now to go down than they were before the weekend. They're 7-10 now, and West Ham after that late winner against Everton are 5-4. Can't rule out Leeds and Forest as well at 25 and 21 at 20. Sorry, but I do think it's probably between Spurs and West Ham now. Looking at the fixtures this weekend, we actually make Spurs are more likely to beat Villa than we do West Ham to beat Brentford. So, as Simon mentioned, they obviously got European commitments this week, haven't they, Villa? But it's so hard to call, Jim. I think I'd probably just lean on Spurs going down, but like Simon, it's so hard to make a prediction. Like, it's one game and things change completely. But we do think that Spurs at the moment are more likely to go down. But as I said, it could change in the drop of a
Forest,
hat. So
a big European night, isn't it? With Aston Villa, could have a bearing here.
Yeah, but Forest just destroyed Sunderland. I mean, they could have beat Sunderland 10. Sunderland were that bad for 15 minutes.
2 strikers. Really
but the interesting thing in this criteria is, if this wasn't Tottenham Hotspur, and we looked at the other teams around them, we looked at West Ham's form, and we looked at they'd be gone. Because it's Spurs, it influences people's thinking. 100%. People think they're going to come out of this nosedive. They're too big a club.
Yeah. Tonight, Charlie, Manchester United, Brentford. It's a talkSPORT exclusive. Sam Matavich on duty with Steve Bruce alongside him. So we'll have a listen to that. What are you thinking there?
Yeah, big game for Brentford, Jim, isn't it? Obviously, still hoping to get European football next season, and
how good would that
looking
be?
To do the double over United for the league double for the second time ever United, which would be impressive. United odds on at 9 to 10, and the Bees and the draw both priced at 27 to 10. Gents, we had a bit of a conversation in the office earlier. Keith Andrews for manager of the season. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, no one thought Brentford would be in the position they are. So do you think he deserves to be in that conversation, or would you probably lean on Pep or Arteta? Where would your thoughts
be? I think
if
he got Europe, yes. If Brentford get Europe, yeah.
Well, he's done exactly
it's
incredibly.
One of those big conundrums, isn't it? What do you win Sports Personality of the Year for? Is it because your achievement, because you've actually got a personality? What do you get judged by? Do you judge by winning? What's the best person? The person that wins the league?
Pep wins everything. He gets.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's done is that he confounded people's mindset. People just, the two most successful clubs in English football, to some extent, in lots of different ways, are Brighton and Brentford for the way they run their football club, economically, the way they run themselves. They are well-run football clubs. No surprise they're both cut from the same cloth, both worked in the same business, Matthew and Tony. So why was anyone surprised that Matthew Benham would pick somebody, looking at it properly, and come out of it, well, he's a set-piece coach, doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, just shows you that the owner knew what he was doing.
It's quite a step up, nonetheless.
But you can't... this is a guy... These two guys, Bloom and Benham, don't make bad decisions. They don't make bad decisions on players they buy.
It was a gamble. It was a gamble. Worth taking.
A highly educated gamble, it would appear.
But they're good at that, aren't they?
That's their big. Exactly. That's exactly.
That's what they do. So, you want to give us the odds again, Charlie, before you leave us tonight? United, Brentford.
Yeah, United 9 to 10, Jim. The draw 27 to 10, and that's the same price as Brentford. So, United the favourites, but Brentford definitely got a chance given the way they've been playing this season.
Good man. Charlie, give Dantos a ring, would you? He's still stranded at Liverpool Lime Street. He has no money, he tells us. Thank you so much. That was a look at the latest odds, all thanks to BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus, be gamble aware, disarg.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
You found the mask?
Yeah, I found the mask.
It's just who we are, mate. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I hope you lost it.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Mate, do you know, it's half hot in here. And I can't... So you don't realise what it's like. I've had Arteta on. I'm going to have to take this off, mate. Well, I can't.
No? You what?
Wow, it's hot. I've got to take my top off, mate. I can't keep doing this, mate. I can't keep doing this.
What is going on? What?
What do you mean?
What is this?
What's what?
Is this talkSPORT merch?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Oh my God, he's got a shirt. You've now got a shirt on. You're kidding me. What is this shirt? What is this?
I don't know what you're on about, mate. I just knocked this whole thing up.
So for people who are not watching on YouTube right now, Cundy has got a T-shirt with the Ange mask. I've seen signs encouraging signs. Is this talkSPORT merch? Where are you getting this stuff from? Who is making this stuff for you? It's bang out of order. I'm going to HR. This is not on. Honestly. They're
We're live in talkSPORT. We're also live in your TV, Apple TV, Chromecast, Prime Video. Talking about TV, don't look for Football Focus for much longer because it was announced at the weekend that the BBC's Football Focus will end this season after 52 years of it. Launched in 1974, Saturday lunchtime television programme provided fans with interviews, analysis, stories from across the game. But now it is time up. Figures have been challenged since 2018 due to changing audience habits. Our very own Martin Keown has featured on this show over a number of years. You'll be sad about the news, Martin, but you've got plenty of fond memories of it.
I think we do have to pay tribute to what has been an iconic programme. You know, I grew up watching it, Bob Wilson, you know, going into dressing rooms. Maybe the access is not quite there as it used to be, you know, following FA Cup, sitting on the bus, talking to players, you know, Dan Walker, then I worked with Manish, all very exceptional people to work with. Behind the scenes, Jim's an incredible team that works towards it as well. So I think it's quite sad to see it go. I wasn't surprised that it left. I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was explained that maybe this programme might be a casualty at some point.
Maybe it's run its course.
Maybe it's run its course. The live football now at 12:30 maybe is affecting the audiences. Alex Scott doing an exceptional job. I don't think it reflects on her. I think it's just changing moods. Digital now looks as if it's going to be the way forward. But I think it was groundbreaking in what it did.
I have a feeling the man sitting beside you will have a different view. I mean, you once defined Football Focus in a newspaper column as football wocus.
Yes, I did at the time.
You're
yes.
not having it.
Good content is good content, and that wasn't good content anymore. The things move with the times, and of course, everything has its shelf life. But you'll hasten that shelf life if you start producing puerile content that has no insight, no discovery, is more interested in about what people's sexuality was rather than actually about football-related matters. I think that was one of the cusps of thrusts of the article that I wrote 18 months ago. And I noticed that Alex Jachelsky, who is very good at what he does, talks about the various reasons why it's gone. The reasons why it's gone is because it's not very good. And the reason
Alex is the director of sport in the Beeb, is he?
And the reasons why it's not very good is because you look at certain things and you go, well, you didn't bring an audience with you. If you look at, when I wrote that article, one of the things that struck me was the amount of people that wrote in of a certain age bracket that said they just didn't like the show anymore, didn't want to watch it anymore. So if you lose that audience, which is your core audience, and the new audience, which apparently doesn't follow the trend of watching good content because there's live football on somewhere else, or digital here, or digital there, or whatever. If you can watch YouTubers uttering and spluttering and muttering in millions and talking about nothing particularly, then you can watch iconic shows like Football Focus if they've got something intriguing and discovering at the centre of it. I think the presenter lacked charisma and insight.
I think that's unfair.
Well, you would do because you work with him. I understand.
Yeah, but that's unfair. You're exposing. So it's not. The programme's not going because of Alex Scott.
Well, I think ultimately a show is held together by the people that are in it, and if the vision
comparable as well, then this show does okay, and I'm on this show.
Well, yeah, because but I'm not sure.
Maybe
I'm
you're
not
not
sure,
on focus.
I'm not sure why we're drawing you into this conversation. But
I work on the show, so
that's fine. But you can have
respectfully, I feel that it was a good show, and I could see.
But it's not. But Martin, I understand. And the reasons why it's being canned is because it's run out of.
I think it's more to do with changing times, changing audiences.
But
maybe a younger audience has been set.
That's like saying this slot here, which atypically doesn't have bigger viewing figures than drive time, because traditionally more people are in the car, and won't rival breakfast because of the way that it's been structured, is not going to achieve it if it doesn't have good content. The reasons why our show does so well is because it's got good content, whether it's down to his presenting, whether it's down to whatever I add, whether it's you or Danny, whatever it is, it's because it's good. It's because it's good.
I think the programme was.
And the reason why Football Focus has been canned is because it isn't good anymore.
Well, I thought the programme was opening up and it was becoming more discussional and less about VTs, and it was going a little bit in this direction, but there are different boundaries, obviously, when you work for the BBC. But look, I think we should be respectful.
Good. No, criticising somebody, come on, pack it in. Criticising somebody and being able to stand up to criticism is not the same as having to show respect. You show people respect if they're worthy of it. I don't particularly think that the show went in a direction for a number of years. Whoever was in situ, that was becoming of the way that people want to consume content. It wasn't forthright. It didn't have a great deal of insight about it. There wasn't a lot of discovery. It was very low level, very soft. It isn't the Football Focus that I grew up watching, and it wasn't when I watched Mark Lawrenson or when I watched other people that are on there, or whether I watched even Dan Walker, who I'm not particularly a big fan of.
Sam Leach. You'll remember Sam Leach.
Do I remember Sam Leach?
A Scottish presenter.
No, I don't remember Sam
Years
Leach.
ago in black and white.
That would have been definitely a time when I didn't watch it.
You've been short trousers then.
But no, I don't think
the thing
it was a good
was,
show.
Martin, the Football Focus, I would have thought, found it tough because it's up against live football. TNT at that stage is putting on a live game. Sky Sports is putting on a live championship game. So you're struggling there because of the competition.
Well, other people are watching other things, and I think the audience was, but I think it was stabilising.
Yeah.
But, look, it was. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised, Jim. I wasn't surprised to see it happening. So
I think it's an excuse. I think you can always turn around and say there's always something else that's potentially worth watching. But if you do something really well and you make yourself compelling viewing, then at certain points you might see peaks and troughs in the audience, and you might see at 12:30 when the live football comes on that those that support those teams might have dipped out. But if it were compelling viewing and appointment to watch, which it used to be, you would have still demanded the audience figures.
Yeah.
And to suggest that isn't that, it's because of different challenges. Well, you rise to the challenge, you create compelling content. And I'm sorry, I sat there with an objective mind, no bias in this. I think Alex Scott in the past, I've been very complimentary about her because I think she was a bright light when she came onto the scene. But I look at that show and I think it was pedestrian. I think it focused on issues that weren't important. I'm not interested in the sexuality of football fans.
Yeah, look, change happens, doesn't it? So, but I think we can still celebrate what the programme was all about.
Oh, you can,
how it was.
You were on it.
And I think the accessibility is a big issue these days. You can't really get behind the scenes like you could have done back in the day when the BBC
now
was
that
celebrated.
We've cattle prodded you a bit, but let's go even a bit further, Martin. Because do you remember Dean Holdsworth, the former Bolton? He's man of many clubs, actually, played for Bolton Wanderers.
Of course.
You played against him on a number of occasions. He certainly remembers you. He was speaking on the Under the Cosh podcast, and this was his memory of a certain Mr. Keon.
Martin Keown, the stuff I had with Martin, I literally, during my career, he was one person I hated. And I wanted him in my team, but what a centre-half he was. What an unbelievable, nasty, horrible, everything you can think of as a centre-half.
We're talking some top players. When people get asked that question about who did you hate playing against, he's always in there.
God.
Yeah.
I just wanted him to kick me as early as he could so I could get him booked. Yeah. And then I've got a chance of doing him later on.
Yeah.
But he was the one you thought, oh my God, you'd have anxiety a couple of days before because you thought, I just know that it was going to happen. It starts in the tunnel, a little bit of banter, and he would just turn around and go, I'm going to kick at you today. And that is it. And you just thought, right, I am going to do all I can to wind you up.
Wow, Martin. Did you turn to him in the tunnel and say...
Do you know, it's another centre forward, obviously, I'm going to have to apologise to. I've been spending my, since I stopped playing, apologising to Barrett. There's just a match mode that I went into. I don't remember really attacking people in the tunnel too much. It was like, people might have said things to me and I just said, if you're going to do me, just do it. Don't tell me you're going to do it. So I didn't tell anybody what I might do. But he was one that, if you didn't sort of, I wouldn't say bully, but lay down the law, then he could score goals. So, you give him that respect, but hair flowing down, shirt out, it was like, okay, then can you run me in the channel? I remember him at Wimbledon, obviously, as well, Bolton, and Sam always got the guys fired up, didn't he, against Arsenal? It seemed as if he wanted to do Alex Ferguson a favour.
I would have thought he could take it as well as give it himself.
Yeah, of course. I didn't ever hear him moaning and complaining. He wasn't one of those. No, he just got on with the job, so respect him. Hope he's enjoying life after football.
He says you were like as hard as nails, or words to that effect. Who was the toughest individual, physically toughest, that you ever played against?
So many.
Who's the standout?
Gosh, Jim. I
mean, even you thought, I'm not sure if I should kick him.
I think the likes of Mick Hartford back in the day. If I go to sort of a world stage, I think Batistuta was an interesting player that
Batistuta
didn't seem to be troubled by any. In fact, would just join in and do something far worse. So he was a big name, a big man. But afterwards, we shook hands. I saw him at the Qatar World Cup, and he was laughing, giggling. We shared a drink, and I think that's what it's about. Obviously, you look back on it in the moment. There are some players I just couldn't find that with. Maybe a Teddy Sheringham, I couldn't find that balance where 1 minute he's my colleague, the next minute he's playing against me. But by and large, you have to look back with no regrets, and there are apologies to one or two of these centre forwards. Some centre forwards you knew straight away. This, if I'm playing against Simon, for instance, I'm going to hit him hard early in the game because I know he's probably going to go off.
Yes.
Do you know that type of player? So
yes.
I'm only joking. Simon.
No, I'd love that.
He's not. I noticed he wasn't listening, so I thought I'd throw that in.
Did anyone ever intimidate you?
No, because I think when they tried really hard. I think the Wimbledon experience, when it wasn't really becoming football with Vinny and Fash, and it was like just maybe try harder. I can't actually remember losing a header against John Frashnew because they tried to intimidate me so much. Just maybe try harder. But maybe that's about background and how you're brought up. And the more you push, the more you bully, the more I try and fight back.
I mean, you threatened Dean Holdsworth reportedly in the tunnel.
No, I don't think so.
Did you ever get threatened in the tunnel?
No, not really. I didn't see that. No, I don't think you can do it, Jim. To be fair, I've never seen anyone get done in the. It's an interesting one, isn't it? I've never seen anyone actually throw a punch before a game.
Did nobody dare to threaten you in the tunnel?
I used to stand leant against the wall and act as if I was disinterested because you give off that persona of like you're not, and then you press the buttons. I didn't need to get up for these games, particularly in those last years at Arsenal, the last 8 seasons with Wenger, where we finished either first or second, and invariably we ended up with something. So they were great years, and it was about protecting energy, not these little flags. Didn't want to get too involved with players, but nonetheless, you've got to do your job.
When you look back at it, I mean, obviously Holdsworth is saying what he remembers. Was there ever a game that you played in, even you thought, oh, geez, I've gone a bit far there?
No, I think my wife said that when with Van Nistelrooy. I think you've gone and done it now. She was my biggest supporter through my career and still is. And I thought, oh, maybe I better take another look at that. Let's see what happened. So, but I don't regret that because of what it did for the group and galvanised. And it's now a major part of history, Jim. We don't take that back.
We're jumping all over.
Yeah, the obviously winning the 49 game unbeaten run wouldn't have happened that day if he doesn't miss. And it's ironic the story finishes back at Old Trafford again the following season.
Yeah,
with a Van Nistelrooy score.
I once asked Van Nistelrooy to come on the show. Actually, this is true. And he came back to me and said, "Yeah, look, possibly." Who's on it? And I said it was going to be you.
As long as I'm not on it.
And I'm still waiting.
That doesn't surprise me.
But you made up at Leicester, didn't you?
It's all done, Jim. Yeah. No issues at all. I think he's delighted that we he's in our heads.
Yes.
Was how he described it.
Oh, really? Is he still in your head?
Rent free. No, those days are gone, mate.
It's 12 noon. All right. I'll press the buttons in the next part. It's Jim White and Sam Jordan and Martin Keown live in talkSPORT with Selco where the trade goes.
Cole Palmer, he hasn't turned up all season. I said this yesterday. If you were naming the England squad today, Eze, Gibbs-White and Morgan Rogers miles ahead of Cole Palmer. 22 appearances this season in the Premier League, only 9 goals, 1 assist, and his last goal was the 4th of March against Aston Villa. He's not turned up. And when there's a game where a manager needs one of his top players against Brighton, he's in the stands. What did the physio who picked the team under Maresca say? You know, you've got a 10% chance of getting injured, Cole. Take it easy against Brighton. Go and sit in the stand. Like, we come for the players like Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez, Garnacho maybe, but let's look closer to home as well. For me, Cole Palmer this season been a disappointment.
Not just this season, actually. If you look at his form in the second half of last season, this is a decline that's been going on for a long time.
He won the Club World Cup final single-handedly.
He turned up for that.
He turned the Conference League final on its head after half.
What about in the Premier League the second half of last season?
Well, he played more games than anybody else, and he was certainly Chelsea's best player over the course of the season.
This season, though, he's not been good enough. When you look at
He's been struggling with a groin injury, and if you speak to Thomas Tuchel, he'll tell you that he couldn't run properly.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
A very good afternoon. It is 2 minutes past 12. Here with the sports headlines, I'm Amelia Beltrao. Who's running things at Chelsea now?
It seems like the players are in control at Chelsea, not the manager.
Martin Keown says we saw a different Chelsea after Rosenior's sacking.
This is what they wanted. They wanted an outcome on the weekend, and they got their outcome. However you think about that and whatever you think of the way it was achieved, but on paper you can't see this Chelsea side really troubling Man City, can you? In any individual game.
Well, Pep Guardiola's allowed his Man City players to jet off on holiday. They've got a week off before going to Everton on Monday. Now, Harry Redknapp's told us relegation is now between West Ham and Spurs. Xavi Simons is out till next season with an ACL injury, and Spurs are sweating on the news from their number 9.
I mean, Solanke looked like he got, whether it's a hamstring or what, I'm not sure, but, you know, they'll miss him as well, Tottenham, for sure. That'll be a blow to them.
Tonight, Brentford can move into 6th if they win at Man United live on talkSPORT tonight. And a win for Carrick's side would all but guarantee them Champions League football. talkSPORT understands Scott Parker's future at Burnley is in the balance following their relegation. Discussions between him and the hierarchy are ongoing. If Parker does leave, the club could turn to Wales boss Craig Bellamy. Stephen Gerrard is also keen to return to the dugouts and is now tax exempt from his time in Saudi Arabia. Golf's the Open is returning to Lytham and St Anne's in 2028. It'll be the first time the Open's been played there since 2012. And former Team GB athlete Ewan Toas reckons Sebastian Sarway's marathon world record is better than Usain Bolt's 100 metres in 9.58 seconds. So he ran the London Marathon in under 2 hours.
Half marathon in an hour, and then he did a negative split. He came home in the second half marathon in 59:30. I mean, it's unbelievable. I saw someone on social media attempt it on a treadmill this morning. They put on his pace for the whole marathon, and the guy lasted for 40 seconds and fell off.
There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The PM's been talking about plans to make a tax on retail workers a stand-alone offence in England and Wales. And the UK's largest ever domestic environmental claim will be heard at the High Court today. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Spring forwards with Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
A dry day for all of us, except for a little bit of rain in northern Scotland. In the south, warm and bright before clouding over heavy showers moving into the east this afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. 5 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Thanks to everybody for getting in touch with the show while we're on air. Absolutely love it. Your participation in the show is what we are all about. No doubt we're going to be hearing from some fans north of the border, not just today, but going forward, because it's that time. And my God, has the situation in Scotland got mightily interesting. What went on over the weekend? I'll tell you what went on. Celtic began the weekend beating Falkirk 3-1. Then yesterday, Rangers, surprisingly at Ibrox, were 2 down to Motherwell. It looked as if they were back in it, and then they lost it by 3-2. Meantime, across the other side of the country in Edinburgh, the Edinburgh Derby, Hearts came from behind to beat 9-man Hibs. It was all adding up to this. Hearts lead the way on 73 points. Celtic on 70 points. Rangers on 69 points. And every game now crucial for each of these three. Interestingly, on breakfast this morning, Hearts boss Derek McInnes was on with Ali and Andy. And he said, well, it's all about us, all about Hearts, but having the right mentality.
Rangers and Celtic are not only teams at the top of the league. Sometimes you get the odd team doing it intermittently, but we actually feel, we've been top of the league since September, more or less, by and large, for a few hours. We're nearly into May. We feel comfortable where we are. Do you know what I mean? It's not a purple patch. It's something that we're quite comfortable with. And obviously, as the weeks go by, there's more expectation on us. That pressure can build. But it seems to run about it, Andy, to be honest, like day to day. You would never really know. We just go on with it. We get to enjoy our work. We have a laugh. We get the serious work done. But it's all quite relaxed, and I think we try and drive that side of it, because there's enough going on outside of it all. But we've beaten Celtic twice, beaten Rangers twice. We've beaten Falkirk 3 times, beaten Hibs 3 times. So the teams that are running around us, we've had the bigger the game, the bigger the performance, and I think that helps to build that resolve and strength and mentality. Really, I would imagine.
So next up for Celtic on Sunday, they're away at Hibs at Easter Road. Next up for Rangers and Hearts, they play each other. My God, what a finish this is. Top journalist Bill Leckie joins us live. Bill, good afternoon to you. I mean, I can't imagine how exciting this title race is up there, because down here we're talking about it in a big way.
Jim, it's fantastic. I mean, to have 3 teams at the top, led by Hearts, and as Derek says, they have led from the front all the way, which is, Martin will know this better than anybody, is the hardest thing to do. Lead from the front, keep yourself ahead. I just think they've been magnificent. Yeah, I mean, this week, Jim, we're now 34 games into a 38-game season, and there's only been 2 weekends when all 3 teams have won, and they keep. Just when you think Rangers, for instance, are starting to score goals and become something, they throw it away against Motherwell yesterday. Celtic were written off by their own fans, but Martin's now got them plugging away, getting results, and yet Hearts just keep getting there and getting there and getting there. And 4 games to go, very much in their hands. If they can beat Rangers next Monday night, Rangers then have to go to Celtic on the weekend to stay in it. And then it could become a 2-horse race with Hearts meeting Celtic on the last day.
It really is remarkable, Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And the way it's been constructed, it could not have worked out better for those who run the Scottish game.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm not a fan of the split. I think it's an artificial mechanism. Nah, it never happened. However, this year, it has created a situation where, with 3 teams coming down the straight, all having to play each other.
Yes.
It's just fantastic entertainment. If it comes to the last day, Rangers are at Falkirk, where they'll be able to take 700 fans, I think, at the moment, right?
Right.
Hearts will be at Celtic, where they've got something like 800 fans. Both away from home, both could be trying to win the league. Celtic could have a chance to win the league. It's just it's something very special, and I'm not sure when we'll ever see this again, to be honest.
Well, this is it. It's a welcome charge from a non-Old Firm team, isn't it? Hearts in there at last. Here's Martin, Bill.
Credit, Bill, to Hearts, but they keep finding a way to win. The pressure that they've been under late, were they down to 9 men, Hibs at the weekend in the local rivalry?
Yeah.
Who do you think's got? I mean, none of these games are easy, are they? But who's got slightly easier schedule of games. I'm looking at Rangers and thinking
that's tough for Rangers.
Yeah, but they've got Hearts, obviously Celtic, but they Hibs and Falkirk.
Yeah, they're all. I mean, they're all Rangers. Rangers are capable of beating anybody and losing to anybody. If you look at the last few games, they were 2-0 down at Livingston. They rescued a draw. They were 2-0 down at Falkirk. They came flying back in the second half and they won 6-3. Yesterday they were 2-0 down, and this time they couldn't do it. You can't. That's not. It's not sustainable to keep going that far behind. So Danny Rowe's on a precipice of having to get this right and stop being so cavalier and so open. Celtic will be sitting there saying, we've got Rangers at home, we've got Hearts at home. If we beat the two of them, probably win the league. Hearts will be sitting there saying, if we beat, we've beaten Hibs at Easter Road, which they would have thought was the toughest game. If they can then beat Rangers on Monday, they'll think they're going to win the league. I've backed Hearts all the way through, and I still back Hearts, but it could still go to any one of the three of them. It really could.
Bill, from the safety of many miles away in London, we can tackle this aspect of the story. In 2 weeks' time, Celtic host Rangers in a potential title decider. Who knows?
Yeah,
it'll be the first Old Firm game since last month's Scottish Cup quarter-final match at Ibrox. Yeah. And we know what happened then. Both sets of fans came on the pitch, ugly scenes. Rangers have now asked the SPFL to step in after Celtic refused to give away fans any tickets to the match unless the Ibrox club's Union Bears, the Ultras group, are banned. Now, Rangers have said, no deal. We have firmly rejected those conditions and have referred the matter to the SPFL board. I mean, can Rangers really argue sporting integrity over safety for this, Bill?
Well, this is such. The Old Firm supporters thing, Jim, has been a complicated matter for years. The morning after all the trouble at Ibrox, after the cup tie, I wrote saying that you could not have away fans at the next Old Firm game. It's too febrile just now. These ultras groups are holding both clubs to ransom. Celtic were under so much pressure with letting about banning the Green Brigade. Now they've let them back in. Rangers have. Neither club did really very much to vilify the people who were responsible for the trouble in the park.
Yeah,
the trouble which was largely averted, but which could have been horrendous. Now, it was partly because of the fact that Celtic had a whole stand. They had 7,500. They had fans who broke through a gate, extra fans to get in. They caused a lot of damage. They caused a lot. They put some horrible graffiti at the stadium, etc. So neither side is
blameless.
Purer than pure here.
Sure,
Neither side's blameless.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be away fans at Old Firm games at the moment until they can find some way of creating a safer environment. At the moment, the environment is toxic. I don't think it's good to have a game where there's no away fans, but it's a better solution than what we're seeing at the moment.
Yeah. Simon, what's your take on it? Rangers say at a crucial stage of the season, the removal of any away fans from one of the defining fixtures of the competition would introduce a clear and material sporting imbalance. It would also set a precedent with potentially significant consequences for the league in future seasons. Do you think it does?
No. Well, so you're talking about 1,600 fans being in the stadium against the other 50,000? Is that the argument? No, they're just playing to the gallery of not wanting to be accepted, that their ultras are being excluded. So they're playing to the gallery of their fan base, saying, we're not going to put up with that. Police these games properly. If you'd have policed the game properly, if you'd have committed the resource to the cup tie, that could have been committed. It was outside of the curriculum of the budgeting that you have for the league, because it's a cup tie that you would never have budgeted for, so it's extra revenue. You could have policed that game. You could have flooded it with police. You could have made it economically viable for the police to put more police in there, and you could have stopped that. You couldn't have stopped the nonsense from them writing horrible inscriptions in the stadium, but you could have stopped the pitch invasion, and the optics would have been different, and the conversation would have been different.
Yeah. Who do you think the SPFL will side with here, Bill?
Oh, there's a question for you.
I know you won't flinch. Go for it.
No, if I were the SPFL, I would be saying, I'm going to be strong here. I'm going to be saying that it is not safe to have away supporters at this game. I don't think they will. I think they will allow. Rangers are meant to, I think it's 2,200, I think, in that little corner. They may reduce it. They may reduce it to 700-800, which is a smaller wedge, which is a more controllable wedge. Right in the corner of this, between the, down at the corner Parkhead, the away end.
Yeah.
I think they might give a reduced number. It will then be up to Rangers to see who gets those tickets. Now they can do that. They can, because everybody's got a season ticket number and they know where everybody sits. They can do that. I'm not sure they will. I think there'll be a compromise of fewer supporters. but I would have no supporters. And that's not, I would be the same if it was at Ibrox. I wouldn't be having Celtic supporters at Ibrox either.
Because it's too risky.
I just think it's creating a horrible, toxic environment. Not that Old Firm games are anything less, in my view, than toxic at the best of times because of the nonsense, the singing and the sectarianism, etc. But I think at the moment, there are sections of those supporters who cannot be trusted to behave in a semi-civilised way.
Well, if they were allowed in, it would have to be limited numbers, and then the police would have to do a whole lot better job than they did, obviously, at the last one.
Yeah, sure.
Well, they leave it. Too much is left to stewards who aren't trained or paid enough to stand in the front of some young, burly guy wearing a Spider-Man mask who's running at you at full pelt, probably full of drink or whatever else. And they're not paid enough. The police should be doing those jobs. And Simon's right, it's up to the clubs to put their hand in their pocket and pay for the right policing to make sure that the stadium is a safe environment.
Bill, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Bill Leckie, one of the most respected voices in Scottish football, joining us live. And we're live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
I've been saying this all season. They don't want to get rid of Arne Slot. Other media outlets are now reporting that he's going to stay, come what may, particularly as they look like they're going to get.
Which is what you've been saying
all along, Cookie.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, when you've got this much upheaval, do you really want to add a change of manager into the mix as well? Particularly when you've got a manager who did win the Premier League last year. Well, he's not useless, is he, Arne Slot?
I think he deserves another go at it. But when he comes out and says we need to sell players, I don't think that's right, is it?
That's always been the Liverpool way. These are not owners who...
FSG don't spend loads of money. They don't just lavish loads of cash.
Who in that squad, though, is going to bring in a lot of money? Who's going to bring in a lot of money?
Jones will bring you 20 million quid.
Okay, who else?
Alexis McAllister, potentially. Not had a great season. Bit of interest from Real Madrid, I'm hearing.
Alisson, did they cash in on Alisson?
Well, he spoke about him today, actually, and he said that he doesn't respond to rumours.
I think he'll stay.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well,
Mamardashvili's not proved himself to be ready yet.
No, not quite yet. Let's just say that. 03717223344. By the way, Arne Slot staying. He had said it.
He said all along.
Yep,
months. Yep.
Well done. See, that's proper.
On the podcast. What's the podcast?
Premier League All Access. If you just have a look towards your left-hand side, if you're watching on YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, look at that for a plug.
You can see the QR code. Just give it a little scan and you'll be able to listen to that when we finish here today.
Is that the first plug we've ever had for our own podcast?
That's on there every week.
Is it?
Every
I don't look at myself on the camera. I look at you guys. I'm engaging. Yeah.
You don't. You look at your phone or your laptop most of the time. That's your...
It is officially Monday lunchtime. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it is Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. Liverpool, well, not the season that Liverpool fans would have hoped for, not by any stretch of the imagination. I think that's fair to say. I think it's very fair to say. And here we are now, 12:20 on a Monday. And this is the first mention of Liverpool. That tells you everything, doesn't it? A moment of controversy during the 3-1 win over Palace, though, and it came via Palace's Daniel Munoz. Munoz clipped a shot into the back of the Liverpool net, while Liverpool goalkeeper Freddie Woodman lay on the ground with an injury to his right leg. Konate, Van Dijk, McAllister all signalled for the game to be stopped, but Munoz carried on. And after a little bit of deliberation, referee Andrew Madeley gave the goal. There was under no obligation. He was under no obligation to rule it out, as Woodman hadn't sustained a head injury. So there are different takes on this. What should have happened? Should the goal have stood? Should play have been stopped? Where should it have gone? This was Arne Slot.
This same incident happened to us against Man United. When McAllister was on the floor with a head injury, Michael Oliver, the referee, keep on playing, keep on playing, keep on playing. We couldn't see the goal. 5 stitches. And amount of times, even today, that the referee stopped the play. So yeah, you can probably feel with my big frustration about this, because it's already because people always talk about the Paris Saint-Germain game. Yeah, there was no diving, there was no pretending, there was just fair playing football. And the amount of times that games have been stopped because players pretended to be injured, that has happened so many times that I can't believe if you are refereeing Liverpool and there's a goalkeeper on the floor that you don't stop the game. The only reason I could come up with is that the referee, the moment he saved the ball went to a different position. He looked at that, and the next moment he looks up and he sees that the goalkeeper is on the floor. That would be only fair explanation why he didn't stop the game. Otherwise, I think he should have stopped the game.
Well, the thing was, Munoz did instinctively what Munoz decided to do. Play on and put the ball in the back of the net. And Oliver Glasner said, surely that was the right thing, because to do otherwise might be dangerous going forward.
I think just the referee has to stop if he believes it's a serious injury. Immediately, definitely. But we could see that the keeper could end the game. And I just think that in these situations, to demand that the referee has to stop can be very dangerous for the future. Yeah, because we see in every set play there, the keeper is involved in a duel. Let's say he clears the ball with his arm and then just stays on the grass and the referee stops. You never get a second phase. Yeah? Or you have a one against the keeper. It's always when you get hit from 4 or 5 yards, it always hurts. Yeah, and if he then just stays on the grass, the referee has to stop. I think this wouldn't be the best for football. So that's why I think at the end it was, let's say, not so clear, to be honest. But I think it was the right decision.
Well, was it the right decision, Martin?
I do think in the end, I do get what Slot's saying, and if the referee is stopping for everything and then suddenly there's a major incident, but it felt like it was in the same action, and the keeper jars his knee, and then obviously Muniz thought, okay, I play to the whistle, by the way. It's a lesson to the players to play to the whistle because you're not sure what the referee's going to do.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, thought it was comfortable. And I take Glasner what he's saying. You can't just keep stopping every time. It just wouldn't be fair. So is it fair all round? I just feel the right decision was made on the day, but everyone should be taken on its own merits. If it was a head injury, perhaps we stop the game. But this will stop players, won't it, in the future, just suddenly dive into the floor. It's always around goalkeepers. So often we've seen goalkeepers feign injury this year, and we get one who's actually injured. It's ironic. They end up scoring.
Well, I mean, Woodman finished the game. Sure. But surely with players, Martin, conning referees with fake injuries and hence pausing games, there is a culture of distrust that's been sown by the very players.
Yeah, and with the goalies particularly. We saw that in the FA Cup yesterday. Caused a mini riot with Leeds players going berserk when the Chelsea keeper goes down. So I just think they got it right. And I think Glasner's right. I don't want to be just seeing the game stop there because somebody's got an injury. He got up. He tried to get to his feet. We could see that there was an issue, but it was in the same action. I don't think you can stop it for that.
Even if it's a goal, is there a difference here in that it's a goalkeeper?
But what does the rules say? These guys make the rules up as they go along. They've made the rules up as they go along, and they now think that the rules that they've made up are the ones that everyone's got to abide by. The fact is that players have somehow managed to coerce referees into believing that every time someone falls over and hurts themselves, the game's got to be stopped. And there's this unwritten law on the field that's established by the players that if someone gets injured and they determine the game should be stopped, it should be stopped. That's not how it works. The referee referees the game. And there's no rule that says if a goalkeeper gets injured, that subsequently he's subject to a different set of circumstances than somebody else.
No.
The only rule that's, as far as I'm aware, and I'm happy to be corrected, is if it's a head injury.
Usually win a goal.
So the players have made that. This is what happens when you allow the lunatics to run the asylum. They've made up a set of rules that they think are now the governance of the game, and so they now think that when it doesn't go towards their governance, their version of the governance, that somehow they've been slighted. He didn't have a head injury. If a player gets injured, you don't stop the game because a player gets injured. The only time you stop a game is if a player's had a head injury.
But usually the goalies do this when there's no opportunity for anyone to score. Do you know, when he's not really necessarily injured.
But let's move.
He was injured.
Let's move past the players.
I thought Freddie Woodman did really well in the game, actually. I thought
fantastic. Let's move past the players and go to him. What are you babbling about, Slot? These are the rules. You know, I get the point, but you don't like the inconsistency of the application that in some games they shouldn't. So referees grow a pair. If it's not a head injury, don't allow the game to be stopped. Don't allow the players to decide how the game is run.
See, we well remember back in 2000, Paulo Di Canio, he caught the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah. As a cross came in and Everton's goalkeeper, Paul Gerrard, was down injured.
But Jim,
Di Canio said, no, we can't have that. Look at the goalkeeper.
Yeah, but in fairness, we've got used to, haven't we, as a ploy, Jim, as a tactic or a ploy or what, we're getting used to seeing the goalkeeper go down and the game stops. Okay, so in these sessions when the referee doesn't do it, I'm kind of with it. But the player tries to get to his feet. Ironically, he was injured, but it's one of those things we just need to allow for.
But it's really simple. Start having the responsibility on the field to say it's not a head injury. I'm not stopping the game. End of discussion. And the players can have their little tantrums and do whatever they want, right? But we've got to the point where this has now been... They've now convinced themselves that the rule says that if someone gets injured, the game can be stopped. That's what they've convinced themselves of.
In the case of the keeper, isn't it? And we need to work... We do need to work
But is it?
Some sort of jeopardy.
Okay, well,
if the keeper keeps going down, we need to say, okay, two players are coming off, or one's coming off.
If a goalkeeper gets injured...
some advantage.
If the goalkeeper gets injured, do the rules say... If the goalkeeper's injured, that's completely different to the other players on the field.
No.
So then the end of discussion.
It's not like a scrum half in rugby.
Martin, if that had been the goal that won Manchester City the Premier League title, would you have taken it in the chin?
Jim, no, there's a devilment about you and your journalism. You're
but Simon, if that was a goal,
what we do, it'd be controversial.
It would be controversial in the American World Cup final in the summer. Would you be comfortable with it?
Yeah. What, as a Man City fan?
No,
Jim, I still think
England.
It's right and proper. It's right and proper. In any situation,
if that beat you in the World Cup final, would you go with it?
But they didn't beat Liverpool, did they?
No, but if it was to be the goal, here,
I'd ask the team if they
throw me a line here.
Depends.
I mean, it's a silly question, isn't it, Jim?
Not really.
Well, look, for me, whatever the circumstances, I felt that should have been allowed because it was just on the edge.
Munoz did the right thing, didn't he?
Yes.
Put the ball in the back of the net and be damned with it. Get on with it.
Yeah.
But the Liverpool players could have gone back into the goal.
I can hear on the other side of the glass through there, or say, "Oh, the goalie."
I'd be agitated.
So what?
I'd be agitated that the players said, if it was my team and it was England, I'd be saying, "You defend until the referee stops, blows the whistle. Get on with your jobs. Get on with your
whatever happens to play to the whistle."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they've got the whistle now, haven't they? The players have got the whistle in their minds. This is what happened when you bring them to the table.
Whatever happened to sportsmanship? We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
the big news is that Liam Rosenior has been sacked by Chelsea after 5 straight Premier League losses in which Chelsea didn't score a single goal. That's their worst record since 1912. Now, Chelsea would have preferred Rosenior to stay and be judged in years rather than weeks, but it simply wasn't possible. And as a consequence, a mid-season change is needed. Even though Rosenior only got the job in January, what I can tell you is that the players have already been informed. They were off today, and Callum McFarland will take charge of the team until the end of the season on an interim basis. And that includes the weekend's FA Cup semi-final against Leeds United at Wembley. And then Chelsea in the summer will do a thorough process to replace Rosenior, but they're going to take their time with that. So Rosenior sacked after that loss to Brighton, arguably Chelsea's worst performance in many, many years. And it is an interim manager in Callum McFarland to take charge until the end of the season.
Ben, firstly, well done on breaking the news. I'm looking at all the other media outlets. We've got it before everyone. So I really appreciate you telling talkSPORT first. Why the big change of heart? Because it wasn't that long ago the owners came out and almost confirmed the fact that they were going to stick with their manager, and they see him in that position for a long, long time. Why all of a sudden is it the change of heart? Is it the performance? Is it the result last night?
It's a results-driven business, and
You've got to feel sorry for Liam Rosenior after Chelsea's player power saw them through to another major final. Interim head coach Callum McFarland thanked Robert Sanchez, where's he been all season, for somehow keeping out Anton Stach's powerful volley. Enzo Fernandez's header was enough to beat informed Leeds, and Annie McCoist was impressed with the £100 million man's movement.
Defenders always take the step back to defend the goal. It's just a natural thing to do. And then he actually went front, stood still, and then can run the back a little bit and give himself a little bit of movement. Yeah, a bit of space, I beg your pardon.
Chelsea versus Man City in the FA Cup final will be live on talkSPORT on Saturday, May the 16th, 3 o'clock kickoff. Pep, meanwhile, is letting his players fly around the world to chill out before the title run-in. They've got a week off before playing Everton. Spurs and Netherlands playmaker Xavi Simons is heartbroken. He'll miss the World Cup with a suspected ACL injury. What a season he's had. Hearts boss Derek McInnes has told talkSPORT Breakfast he's known since September his squad were capable of something special, and they're 3 points clear with 4 games to go in the Premiership after another late winner, this time over Hibs.
No, that's no through chance that you're scoring loads of late winners. You know, it's like it illustrates a lot of things. Strength of character, strength of the squad, strength of fitness, you know, that kind of determination.
Hearts host Rangers on Monday, and was York City's 103rd minute equaliser against Rochdale to climb out the National League the best season finale of all time.
The only one that I can compare it to, Ali, is 1989. And Liverpool and Arsenal on the final day, Michael Thomas. That's the only one I can really think of.
York City fan and commentator John Champion feels for Rochdale, who go into the playoffs despite racking up 106 points this season. There's more, as ever, at talksport.com.
Monday lunchtime, just gone 12:30. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. You remember in a recent Champions League game between Real Madrid and Benfica, there was a heck of a dust-up between Vinicius Jr. and Gianluca Prestiani, the Benfica winger. Vinicius alleged that Prestiani, who covered his mouth with his shirt, had racially abused him during the match, but Prestiani denied doing so and said he had in fact used an anti-gay slur. Well, UEFA have now accepted Prestiani's perspective in this, and he's been banned for 6 UEFA matches, although 3 of those games are suspended for 2 years, and another was served when he missed the second leg against Real Madrid. So Prestiani then may miss only 2 more games. So at the end of it all, where has it got us? Because after the game, Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius' Real Madrid teammate, alleged that Prestiani had called Vinicius mono or monkey 5 times during the game. Prestiani claimed that he had used a homophobic slur. and also alleged that the Brazil international referred to him as a dwarf or midget during the match. So a variety of different slurs were being thrown around on the field of play at that time. I'm delighted to give this some perspective. Charlton Vice Chair and EDI lead Paul Elliott joins us live in the show. And Paul, you joined us on the day when this all happened. Now we know where it's got to. Are we actually left with more questions than answers?
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, guys.
Good afternoon, Paul.
Hi, Paul. Listen, where I'm perplexed in my thinking, you've articulated that preamble very well, Jim, but UEFA, under their Article 14 of their own disciplinary regulations, they have the clear mandate to give discriminatory behaviour a 10-match ban. That's fact. And what's happened is the player has clearly recognised he's going to get a sanction for something. So I think there's been a conversation where he's admitted the homophobic slur, knowing obviously that the sanction imposed would not be as extreme as a 10-match ban. And ultimately, he will now not be called a racist, because I recall the comments of Mourinho. He actually says if he actually got prosecuted for being a racist, his career would be over. No, it would not be over, because ultimately he serves his sanction and then he's free to continue his career thereafter. So why they've given a 6-match ban with 3 games suspended, 1 already spent, when within their own regulations, they have the clear mandate to give a 10-game ban, is beyond my comprehension and my thinking. But there's a sanction. The player will recognise his behaviour as unacceptable, reprehensible, repugnant. And the good thing is, out of this moving forward, at least IFAB now, that set all the rules, they've started proceedings to actually ensure to ban players covering their mouths. So whilst the sanctions, in my opinion, Jim, my professional opinion, my personal opinion, should have been much stronger, you have to sometimes take the good and the upside from the positivity from the outcome. So that's how I feel about it. UEFA, within their own regulations, could have gone the whole 10-game ban. And I thought, given the severity of this, the evidence of Mbappe, ultimately the player knows what he has said. It's one word against another, but it's clear that he said something very serious
I see.
and highly inappropriate.
So, Paul, when it boils down to it, you think that the authorities, at the end of the day, have decided, well, if we're not going to charge him on racism, we're going to hit him with homophobic conduct. Lesser of two evils.
Correct, because he's admitted to that. And for me, that was probably the easier way out, because it's clearly obvious, Jim, on the balance of probability and the threshold that they used, he said something. So it's his word against Mbappe, against Vinicius Jr. So the fact that the player's given an open disclosure and admittance that I use highly inappropriate language, so then UEFA has aligned the sanction with what he has said. But their own rules actually say they could have gone much stronger. And that's what I thought. I apply zero tolerance. In the modern day game, this is zero tolerance. As we said, if it was in this country, Jim, remember I said something rather hard and controversial, players will have to go to prison because they are not above law and regulation.
I remember you said that, Paul.
And no other modern day player is.
Is this how you read it, Simon?
Or simply he didn't say something that was racist. And somehow, I don't know how UEFA would suggest that they are in a position to discriminate between discriminations. So that would be a very bold position for them to take. And what we're suggesting, and by the way, I thought the chronological order of events was the player was instantaneously making clear what he said. He didn't make it as an admittance to the UEFA disciplinary panel. It was said very clearly and very quickly after the game that he'd made a homophobic observation rather than a racial one. And so it would be very bold, foolish and inappropriate for UEFA to have done a deal with the player saying, as part of the equation will obviously be mitigation. In any sanctioning body, in any governance, if you admit something, they will take that as mitigation, whether it's right or wrong. If you murder somebody, you don't get mitigation for it. If you admit it, you get the sentence. And so in this instance, you should get the same. But the idea that the player came out straight away after the game, very quickly after the game, from my understanding of it, and it was going and doing the rounds, that it was a homophobic slur rather than a racist slur. And we have to be careful because there's the idea and the suggestion that Paul appears to be making, which is the lesser of two evils in the player's mind and the club's mind and those that represent him, was to be a homophobe rather than a racist. And the balance has also to be there also has to be a scenario where people can't just throw observations about racism, because one of the things you can't be called in this society is a racist. It has the most damaging and most far-reaching effects. So players of colour know that as well. And if they are being racially abused, they're absolutely within their rights. Absolutely should be, and people should be consequent. And I don't disagree with Paul's assertion about a month or so ago when this came up about it reaching onto the pitch and people being arrested for it, because it has done in previous other instances. But I do think it's a bit much to say that it's just a situation where he did say something racist, but the easier one to get out from underneath was to be a homophobe. I think that's...
What would you say to
a bit
that,
of a supposition on your part,
Well,
Paul?
I mean, listen, Simon makes an interesting inference, and I note that. But I think Simon, I've been in these circumstances. I know what goes on. You've got administrators then looking very seriously at this, at the magnitude of it. And obviously, I think I am not convinced that whilst it was the homophobe, everybody would know that would always be a dilution. You know, I think, again, you have to look at the individuals around this. You've got to look at Mbappe. You know, you've got to look at what the player said, Vinicius Junior, and ultimately the player reaction. When a player talks into his jersey, nobody actually knows. But then the player says, this is what I say. Well, you know, Simon, the player would have known the consequences, the risk of action, knowing if he would have said something racist.
Paul, with respect, I hear what you're saying, but how would he have known? At this point, there is a discriminatory offence, whether it's homophobic or racist, that carries the same sanction. So how would he know that UEFA was susceptible to him saying, in preference to the lesser of two evils in their minds, was he's likely to get out from underneath by pleading guilty to homophobic comments rather than racist? How would they know this? How would UEFA, given the fact that this is an organisation that wants to shine, you know, rainbow colours over football stadiums and are constantly talking about inclusion, how would they know that they're going to be susceptible? We'll take the homophobic plea rather than the racist one because it gets everybody out from underneath it a little bit easier.
Simon, this is no reflection on UEFA. This is a reflection on, I think, those conversations post-game that's actually taken place and he's been guided. There's been guidance there because I've seen it. I've been a part
Paul,
of the dressing room.
He didn't make a racist comment. Or the other
we don't know that.
But you're jumping to the conclusion that he does. So there's the fact that it's baked into your thinking, so it would appear that it was a racist comment. And neither you or I were there. What we both agree on.
No, he wasn't. Of course.
What we both agree on is if he puts his shirt over his mouth, he said something he shouldn't have said. What we don't know is what he actually said.
Only Simon, you know, and I know. If we strip it all down, only the player
knows.
Only the players know what he says.
Indeed.
We can only surmise on the player reaction, the player evidence, and the player evidence and the player reaction by his teammates more than meets the appropriate threshold, in my opinion, to give the assertion and the conclusion that it was a racist comment. Now, the process, they've gone through the process. And obviously UEFA, because of the admittance and the stance that the player and the disclosures that he has actually made, it says, okay, you are the only person that will know has made this full and frank disclosure and admittance of a homophobic, then we have to apply the appropriate sanctions.
But the sanctions are the same, and I hear you, right? So this
and that's the point, Simon.
So let's expand. So let's expand this. He should be on a 10-game sanction then, because he shouldn't be getting dispensation. Then we have to ask ourselves. We have to ask ourselves. Why? Now, if he'd admitted that he'd made a racist comment, would he have got dispensation? That we don't know because it's not been put to the test. But we have to understand what were the grounds behind them not throwing the book at him for an equally offensive outlook.
Simon, that is the bullseye, especially within the Article 14 of their regulations, that you can apply this sanction to racist or discriminatory behaviour. And that's the point, ultimately, that I'm looking at. And I'm thinking, why haven't UEFA applied the full
I think if anything good can come out of this, it seems to me it's got an unsatisfactory end, Martin, all round.
100%.
But if anything good can come out of it, it's IFAB now looking at measures to stop players hiding what they say behind their shirt.
Absolutely.
Paul, what measures would you maybe want in place? I mean, do you think there should be If a player covers his mouth,
he just said it
immediately. You should be banned in some
Should be
way.
red carded.
Yes. But there were two witnesses here. It wasn't just
and that's
one.
the point, Martin. That's the evidence.
Go on, Paul.
That's the evidence that I'm saying. You've got the player, and then you've got the other the supporting player and the reaction.
Yeah.
So you've got evidences there. So effectively, what UEFA are saying, their evidence doesn't mean anything. Effectively, that's what they're saying. So for me, in terms of zero tolerance, you have to apply zero tolerance. So whether it's racism or discriminatory, it's a standard minimum 10
But also,
games.
Paul, wasn't there certain assertions, and again, I'm trying to recall specifically, but wasn't there
the
certain assertions
conversation
about Mbappe not being within earshot to have really heard it clearly, and the fact that he was so unequivocal? There were certain observations that were being made that necessarily
possibly. I mean, Simon,
he
I
couldn't
remember
have heard it.
we reviewed this. I remember vaguely the conversation
I do too,
that he wasn't in relative proximity, something along those lines. But I still think, Simon, ultimately, for all the peripheral conversations that we're having, it comes down to the rules, the interpretation of the rules, and if it's found beyond the reasonable doubt or the balance of probability that those rules have been breached, then UEFA have a clearest possible mandate to apply that. So when you think of what he's done, the impact that he's had on the player, the psychological suffering of the player, and what he's got is effectively, 6 games, 3 suspended, all of a sudden it looks like, well, is that really a proportionate sanction to the impact and the psychological impact and the hurt and the pain that he has done to Junior and football?
Okay, Paul. A bit unsatisfactory all round. Here's what's good, and we'll finish on this. Charlton won at the weekend.
Yes, they did. My wonderful favourite team. We were excellent at the weekend. It was a tough game. Listen, I always said, Jim, from when we spoke at the start of the season, 2 things were important to me. Number 1, competing. Number 2, consolidating. We've competed. We've consolidated. I'm delighted for the Charlton fans and supporters, for Nathan and my chairman, Gavin Carter, because as a club, we've worked extremely hard. We had a wonderful evening last night, actually celebrating Lenny Lawrence and Alan Kirbishley in their impact at the club. And it was just wonderful to look at the past, look at the present, and actually say, under our owners, the club's in a very, very stable position.
Well done.
Continuity and stability equals success. So roll on, Charlton. Thank all the punters for our support. Next season, we rest and we go again.
Paul, I enjoyed eating vol au vents with you the other night in the
That's
boardroom.
right,
That was
Jim.
terrific.
Hey, and Jim, and it was a wonderful performance. And
Well
we played
done.
well against a very good whole team.
Well
So
done,
well
Paul.
done.
Well done, Paul.
Thank you,
Elliott.
guys.
Paul
All
Elliott
good.
with us live this lunchtime. It's expensive as well, living in Paris by the sounds of it, Emmanuel. It's expensive being Emmanuel Petit by the sounds of it as well.
No, so happy to be Emmanuel Petit, you know.
Oh, quite right.
If I was not Emmanuel Petit, I wish I would be. I could be Emmanuel Petit. Honestly, my life is beautiful. You
Well,
know?
let's get into this. What do you like about him?
Well, I always do what I like, you know. I don't do things because I don't want to do it. And this is a luxury, especially nowadays. People would think, okay, with the money you earn, but I gave everything to my ex-wives. I had 3 divorces and I gave the half of it to the States too. So, but I'm still very happy. I try, you know, every single morning when I wake up, I want to stay positive because life is beautiful. I know it's very difficult, but if you want things to change in your life, you have to be positive. This is my religion.
Coming on this show often might change that.
Well, I was going to say,
if I have to come every single day with Simon, maybe
I'm positive. I was going to say, Emmanuel, you only do things in life that you want to do, and you're sitting beside him.
It's a luxury, actually,
Yes,
because
it's a luxury.
most of the people, they don't have the choice to do it.
Do you know when you won it? In '98, what was the culture like in that squad? The environment,
Amazing.
What was the mood? Who was your best pal in that squad?
Patrick, Fabien.
Now, if you miss any of White and Jordan, that's us. You can download the Outspoken podcast, available every day in a bite-sized chunk, and the latest episode of the 21 Minutes to Go podcast with Andy Goldstein and Jason Cundy is out now. Make sure you download it via your favourite podcast provider. Happy now? Everybody
21
happy?
minutes. Is that the sum total of relevance over the entire 4 shows they do a week?
Yeah, 21 minutes. Coventry City, there you go, Martin, have won the championship title, a 3-1 win over Wrexham. They go 12 clear at the summit with 1 game to go. Brilliant, brilliant. Frank Lampard on the pitch, loving the moment.
You've been down a lot. You've been to different stadiums. You've followed this team, other teams, all the teams, because when you're born this way, you're never going to change, right? And you've gone through everything. Now, I have to say, one of the biggest pleasures we get as a group is giving you the joy of this moment. So this moment is yours.
So, up go Coventry. And on summer recruitment, Simon, we hear they're saying we need to be diligent. We'll work hard and we need to be very aligned in what we do. It's going to be vital. But these boys also deserve a chance to be where they're going, and we don't want to dismantle that entirely.
Yeah.
Are the players good enough to survive in the Premier League?
Doubtful. So they need to get the balance right. They need to be able to keep the squad mentality, which has been so pivotal in achieving such a monumental achievement for them. At the same time, as give themselves some quality and opportunity to compete in the big league. Now, they'll try and get the balance right. The manager will want, the manager, if that's what he feels, fantastic. I'm a chairman, sat back going, okay, I've got to spend the money, never. He won't feel that. He will feel that he needs to be given sufficient tools, perhaps to even stay in the job. Dare I venture that particular thought process?
Oh, I see.
But the fact is that you will need to be competitive. There is a difference in quality between the Championship and the Premier League. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at the table, look at the Premier League, look at the teams that go up, look at the teams that come down. Coventry haven't spent 25 years outside of the Premier League to go down with a whimper. That being said, they will also want to be sensible about the fact that the balance of probability suggests they might, and they will want to make sure that they don't disadvantage themselves and put themselves in the cart economically by making big investments that can't be sustained in the longer term and become a problem if the worst was to happen.
Do you think on their minds, Coventry fans should maybe be a bit worried, Martin, that Chelsea in some disarray, and maybe
no, I don't think so. I
give him a call.
Well, Frank's had 2 goes at that job, hasn't he? I think he'll stay loyal. This has been his project. Obviously, Mark Robbins did an amazing job there. Foundations were in place. You've got to look at the players and think, okay, how much has got Premier League experience? Not too much. Where they've not had the parachute payments, Simon, they've got a big hole to fill. But he's going to have to be imaginative with his signings, with his acquisitions, with the loanees. Sunderland have proved, but they paid quite big money, Sunderland. They paid quite a lot of money for those guys. Went into the 20 millions. They weren't paying 5 and 6s. They went after proper players. Anyone that was available, they went and got.
They spent 150 million quid, 150 million euros, but they also got best part of 40 million quid back from Joe Bellingham, didn't they? So they spent £100 million net. Don't know what their wage structure was. I can't imagine it's huge. because realistically speaking, it can't be.
Yeah.
So Coventry, Doug King has done a good job. And I like his observations about whether Frank Lampard will stay or won't stay, because it doesn't become just about Frank Lampard. It was that all the players, the owners, everything was put together. They were quite successful for a period of time under Mark Robbins, under this new ownership. They got to FA Cup semi-finals, have considered themselves very unlucky on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
And Frank came in and put the cherry on top and did a good job for 18 months and got them where they're going. And if he wants to leave, kind of what Doug King's saying,
yeah,
you know, well, I don't worry about things like that. What will happen will happen.
Well, what will happen will happen. In fact, going into the weekend, Frank was asked, what about Chelsea? Might they come in for you?
I'd like to think that Coventry fans are just enjoying what we've done through this season, and I think the world of management and lots of things are out of your control. All you can do is control your work, and I have to come and speak to you and talk about rumours, etc. But at the minute, I think we should just enjoy where we are. We've had an amazing season. I'm really proud and pleased to be a part of it, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing. So I can't control who worries or not. I would say just enjoy this, because it's a special year.
Simon, you mentioned Doug King, the owner. He says, we've just got smiles on our faces at the moment. We don't worry what may or may not happen for the head coach. He's right.
Yeah, it's also very simple for Frank to turn around and say, I brought Coventry to the Premier League and this is where I'm staying. Other managers can do it. It's very rare that they do it. And the reasons why they can't do it is they can't help themselves, because there's always another opportunity. Frank Lampard will be well served in staying with Coventry, because he's done a great job there. They took him and invested an opportunity in him, and he's paid them back by doing the job that they inevitably brought him in to do. And so it's not difficult. My future for the immediate term, which is over a significant period of time, is with the management team that gave me an opportunity and the ones I rewarded. And I want to take this team in the Premier League and punch my weight.
And I'd like to thank the owners for the opportunity I was given. That's what you really
No, not that much that, but just you can do that. No, I don't want anyone to worry about it. It's very simple.
Yeah.
I only want to celebrate the moment. No, it's very simple. You can just answer it. You can just say.
But Chelsea is his first love.
Oh,
so no.
West Ham was his first love.
It is, but I think he was best placed, and he'll know that he stays at Coventry. That's his story.
So then he can
Frank
say it.
Lampard's story.
He can say it then, can't he?
Enjoy that process with this new group. It seems to me he was loving these players. There's been a bit of a change in his management style, and it's paid off. And look, they're just galloping away to win the league there.
Give me the scoreline of the first leg: Atletico Madrid, Arsenal. Martin Keown.
I think it might be a 0-0, Jim.
Okay.
I don't see many goals in that game.
No.
By the way, they've been on a terrible run recently, Atletico Madrid. I think they've only won 2 in 9 in all comps.
Okay.
So let's see.
Might see
great
you
opportunity.
At the pitch on Wednesday night in Madrid, clearing one
Hopefully
off the line.
you'll see me celebrating.
Arsenal invincible, Martin Keown, I thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
The bad news for me is I'll see you tomorrow at 10.
Indeed.
Monday lunchtime, and it's 1 o'clock.
What's happened?
Hello, matey.
What's happened?
You all right?
How are you, matey? You good?
I'm all right. Yeah, very well. Thank you very much.
Gaffer's gone.
Yeah.
Gaffer's
after
slapped.
Yeah, last night's performance
Slap.
was unacceptable, mate.
Yeah, he got slapped.
Yeah, something.
Slap.
That could not stay the same. The run of results and performances have just led to this. I mean, you heard me last night.